Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 71. We're back in the basement on a Saturday afternoon to talk about some more wrestling. I am your host, and across the table from me, as always, is my teenage son and co-host, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Hi.
Still fighting a bit of the sickness?
I don't know. My nose is just a little stuffy sometimes, but it's
Right.
not. I'm not really that. Like, my throat's fine.
Your brother seems fine. You seem pretty good. Your mother's still not so great.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Well, what have we been up to this week? Let me see. I just got back from your brother's basketball game, coaching him. They crushed by 41 points. I felt a little bad for the other team, in fact. Your brother played well. I know that's important to you. Mm-hmm. Led the team in assists, as he should, as the point guard of the team. Played quite well, so that was fun. And then you just sort of hung out here. Started watching Family Guy, right? As your new... He's old enough. He's watching Family Guy with me. We finished, your third or fourth round of The Office?
Yeah,
and then moved into your first round of Family Guy, so we're up to, 2 episodes in, I think? You're finding it funny?
We didn't finish the third one, but...
We're halfway through the third episode. So that's what's new with us. Other than that, just another week of school, another week of work, right? Anything exciting at school happening?
No.
I know you're disappointed, but you found out your timetable's going back to the normal timetable.
Yeah, now I have to carry all my stuff every day.
Yes. But instead of having 2.5-hour classes, which is ridiculous for everybody involved, you'll be back to
now I have gym every
75 minutes. You do, but only for half the time.
Yeah, but...
That's the key. You'll be shocked at how quickly the periods are over when they're now 75 minutes instead of 150. It's going to feel a lot different to you. But anyways.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll probably like it once you get used to it. Yeah, so we're just sort of welcoming a little bit of wintry weather here in southern Ontario, right? It's been kind of cold. A little bit of snow here and there, but nothing that's accumulated. So we're going out on some family outing tonight, right? To some Festival of Lights or something in Markham.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's all organized and we walk through it, and then there's food trucks there and stuff where we can grab a meal as well. So I think that's the plan for
for the food trucks. Yeah.
Saturday night in November
Food
in southern Ontario. So that's what we're doing. But I don't know. I don't really have much else to talk about. Any banter that you want to banter?
I hope they have good food trucks.
Oh, they probably will, I'm sure. Seems like a pretty well organized setup, so I'm confident the food will be pretty decent.
I hope one place has pea meal.
Pea meal on a bun?
Yeah.
It's your go-to.
Food truck pea meal, good.
Which I think American friends call that Canadian bacon. We just call it pea meal bacon. Yeah. We're famous for it, apparently. It is delicious. So
yeah, that's good.
It is not like your normal bacon.
Maybe like a good wrap place, because I think last time I got like a shawarma. Remember when we went to like the thing... There's like a bunch of food trucks in the parking lot or whatever.
You got a shawarma wrap?
Yeah. And there's like good mango juice.
Take a wild guess what your brother will get.
A burger.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah, maybe there's some burgers. Oh, a pizza food truck would be cool.
Yeah, I don't know what's there, but
I don't
we'll
know
find
if that's
out.
an actual thing. Oh, if there's one with tacos, I would like a taco.
Just looking for something to do.
A taco truck. That's what I want.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That might happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, you ready to talk about some wrestling?
Yep.
All right, so that's going to bring us to talking our first segment, which is going to be looking at the week's wrestling news and rumors. So I thought it was a pretty light week of news this week, yeah?
Yeah.
I was struggling to find, I usually want to have 2 or 3 things, but I did kind of find the ratings, but even that wasn't the normal ratings. I'll explain why in a minute, but for NXT, we've got it. So Tuesday's live WWE NXT 2.0 episode drew 625,000 viewers on USA Network, which is up 8.89%. Earned a .14 in the 18 to 49 demographic, up 27.27%. So it was back above 600,000 with the War Games build, but still not back to what the show was doing in the late summer and most of October. A slight improvement for NXT, but still not back.
The difference in the late summer, though, is that was good NXT.
Right, and I think that's
NXT.
kind of the thing here. This is not good NXT, so the numbers are up this week, but kind of down overall, I guess. And then, I guess because of American Thanksgiving, the ratings for AEW still aren't officially in. So what we're going with is Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, who's very reliable generally. I think he's now affiliated with Post Wrestling, which is a pretty good site as well. So he's estimating that the final Dynamite viewership, because they just had like the fast whatever, which I don't even understand it, but I'm going to go with his estimate. He's estimating it'll be around 855,000 viewers, which would be a decrease of just over 13% from last week. And the key demo he's predicting will be at 0.29, which would be down just over 21.5%. So looks like the numbers are down for AEW, but I'm not going to get too much into it because we don't actually know if those are the concrete numbers. So we're just sort of speculating a little bit, but I think Brandon Thurston probably knows what he's talking about What do you have for us?
So there was like a Black Friday Invitational Battle Royal.
Sure.
Yesterday on SmackDown, and the winner would face Roman Reigns. And interesting, winner is Sami Zayn.
Is he a babyface right now?
No.
Right, I thought so.
But then now I'm thinking maybe this is them starting that perhaps because he's better as that.
And they can't. We've talked about it. They can't build baby faces. Like, who's on the horizon that's a legitimate challenger to Reigns at this point? Right? Nobody.
Yeah, no one.
Right? No, like literally nobody. Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but that.
Is he even on SmackDown? I don't even know who's on what. And we've done that route before, right? So there's really not much fresh baby face.
And Sami Zayn, like he was good as a heel, but I feel like I was saying that he's kind of like Rollins. Like I think both of their heel runs have run their course.
Yeah.
But the difference is Zayn has been a heel since 2017.
Yeah.
So like October 2017. So it's been like over 4 years or something, I think.
And Sami Zayn is an awesome babyface if they want to embrace it. I've heard
and he's yet to win a title as a babyface.
Very much speculation and rumors of your favorite, like Braun Breaker being thrust into the main roster as a babyface contender right off the bat.
Because they have no one else.
Exactly.
Even though he sucks, they have no one else.
Right. The only couple things I think I have 3. One of them is an update on Johnny Gargano's deal with WWE. So he has signed a 1-week extension to his original deal.
For War Games.
Right, so that's according to Fightful, and now his contract will end December 10th, and apparently talks between the two sides are ongoing, and the report noted, much like Adam Cole, WWE speaks highly of Gargano, and he's hopefully willing to extend his contract.
I'm sure they do right now.
But there are other companies more than likely interested in his services as well, so he's extended enough to be at War Games. He also has the added sort of wrinkle of his wife working with NXT and still contracted, and that basically I read that because WWE is such a caring company, they're not counting her time on maternity leave, right? They'll add it to the end of her contract, which is
so stupid.
Right. I don't think that's really cool. But anyways, that's what it looks like. Gargano's got one more week past what he was normally scheduled anyways. What do you have?
Yeah, I think I saw that. I forgot to put that in.
That's all right. I got it.
And then Lucha Bros vs. FTR are gonna face off for the AEW tag titles once again. This time it'll be on Rampage next week in a 2 or 3 Falls match. So they're making you watch Rampage.
They definitely will make me watch Rampage, and they can fill most of the show with that match, right? I would assume, and I'm here for that all day.
I can't remember if they've done a 2 or 3 Falls match yet. I know they did an Iron Man match because that was Omega and Pac.
It feels like it's warranted here, right? With these teams, I feel like they've had a couple normal matches already.
And both of them kind of
have a win, right?
No, and both of them ended kind of by, I don't know, nefarious means or
shenanigans. Yeah,
kind of.
You're right.
Because even though Lucha Bros won, like FTR pulled the Killer Bee switcheroo, so then that was like kind of illegitimate, and then they cheated to win the AAA tag title, so that was also kind of illegitimate.
Those guys in FTR, man, they're just cheaters, eh? Yeah. Terrible.
They suck.
Yeah, what else do I have? Beth Phoenix.
Sucks.
This one I kind of put in. You can tell it's a light news week. She named an NXT talent that stands out to her. Any care to guess who it is?
Indy Hartwell.
No.
Braun Breaker.
Who would be one of the last people you would pick as a standout?
Von Wagner.
Close.
Tony D'Angelo.
Correct. The Glamazon spoke about Tony D'Angelo and praised his character for resonating with the audience.
I hate her more.
He's, quote, he knows the character and it resonates with the audience. I don't want to say it's a simple character because it's not. It kind of is.
Everything on it is.
There's a million layers to it, she says, but it's a familiar character. Other characters in WWE have brought some of those flavors. These flavors like code for stereotypes.
Yeah,
I feel
it's familiar if you watch like 70s WWE.
And he's pulling from
90s,
other inspirations 90s. And maybe TV and movie characters. He's pulling from every stereotypical Italian mafia character in the history of pop culture. This is not some revolutionary, like progressive character and gimmick. It's really just lowest common denominator. Everybody's seen gangster movies, so we'll have a gangster character. So I don't know. Anyways, it bugs me. Anything else for you?
Yeah, that just proves my theory that Beth Phoenix sucks and she's an idiot.
Well, I don't know. She might be just a shill, right? She's a company person, so she needs to say things.
She's really gonna shill.
I don't like to call anyone an idiot.
If she was gonna really shill, why don't you start praising Von Wagner?
She's probably shilling for who she's told to shill for.
Yeah. No, I have nothing else.
The only other thing I have is that already we haven't even talked about it on NXT, but we'll get there. It's not a big spoiler anyways. The WWE may be dropping plans for their Daddy's Girl character on NXT that debuted this week.
Trust fund.
So we got, it's a vignette aired for Tiffany Stratton, who portrays basically a rich, spoiled Daddy's Girl character, it seemed.
Yeah,
we didn't
like
say Daddy's
tennis.
Girl, we said like entitled, sort of.
Yeah, and she's like a country club tennis.
Yep,
person.
and the basic idea is it's like the Mean Girls film, which I don't think you've seen yet, but we'll watch it at some point. However, it looks like fans may never see that character on NXT because it might be dropped. So Brian Alvarez said, I don't know if it's because of me. I'm not going to take credit for this, but I couldn't help but hear within the last few hours that they may be backing away from this Daddy's Girl character, so we'll see. I'm not sure how many vignettes they've already shot, but if she's no longer talking about Daddy, then you'll know why. You heard it here first. So basically, Brian Alvarez, he said he's been critical of WWE having older men on creative, as we have been critical of that as well, coming up with this Daddy's Girl character and only showing certain parts of her body in the vignette, right? We never actually get to her head, right, in this week, so it's kind of gross.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
That they're trying to attract younger viewers, right, by pushing the envelope, but this is a show that their ratings are older men. The ratings above like 50-year-olds is their main demographic. So kind of weird that you're pushing that character. I get that you're trying to get younger viewers, but your actual viewers are older men.
Right.
That should not be really interested in this gimmick, in theory. But anyways.
Yeah, it's weird.
So that is all I have for news as well. So I guess we can move into talking about, for possibly the final time, right? Our favorite show every week. Not really. It's NXT 2.0. Well, I think this might be the last time we do 2.0 until maybe, I don't know if you're willing.
It literally all hinges on the main event.
Right, so Jack decided coming into this, if Pete Dunne wins,
I will stay on for a month until the next year, and then we'll see how bad it is then.
And I've gotten to the point where
if he loses, I quit.
It's been me, the optimist, and me, the guy that's been watching NXT since day one, is now at the point where I don't care anymore because this has.
Right.
We've talked about it. We've given it more than its fair chance.
I initially, I remember, I wanted to give it like 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it's been like at least 2 months. And it's been so bad. Like, and if they're not even going to have the decency to treat my boy with respect, then I will not watch.
And week in, week out, like not fun, bad, just bad, not fun to watch, not fun to talk about because there's nothing.
Right. That's perfect for me. Like if it's bad, but it's fun to talk about here, I will do that because I don't mind making myself suffer. But
it's not that
if
fun.
it's not fun to talk about here, then I'm just making myself suffer twice.
Right.
Which
so we'll see.
Bad.
This could be. I mean, maybe we'll check in on it every now and then, and I imagine we'll watch the pay-per-views.
Yeah, I will watch the pay-per-views because that for me is at least like that removes half of the bad for me because that's just gonna be matches, right?
Hell, we watch Survivor Series, so we can watch anything at this point.
Right.
But we'll talk about that later too.
And so we will watch that, and at least those won't desecrate takeovers.
Right. So this show starts out with not the new version of the Now Then Forever, whatever that opening
and now forever.
That little graphic thing is. So that gets interrupted by Grayson Waller speaking, right?
Really? They interrupted.
They interrupted that opening thing. Yeah, because you came down a couple minutes late and I think missed that part of it. So Waller immediately is calling out the fans for turning on him, and he compared it to the fans turning on John Cena. So I liked right away that he's comparing himself to John Cena, right?
Yeah, that's something.
Mid-card NXT guy comparing himself to one of the all-timers. But anyways.
It'd be different if it was like Austin Theory doing that.
He then talks about people booing others with a lot of social media followings, and then again brings up John Cena and The Rock here. So again, putting himself in with those two, which is pretty funny.
Surprised LA Knight isn't doing that because he's Rock in Austin.
He says the crowd booed Roman Reigns, and now he's the biggest star in WWE. And Waller is going to follow that path. Then Ciampa's theme hits, and he comes out. So I just had some quick
I don't
thoughts.
mind that logic, because that's not bad heel logic, right? Because Roman Reigns was despised for years, and then when he actually embraced it,
That's right.
He's where he is now.
I liked Waller here, but I liked him better when he wasn't, because now he's fully trying to be like, I'm a heel, right? Like, it's not quite so subtle anymore.
Yeah, I liked it when he was just kind of like cocky, but like kind of likable.
Yeah, and just kind of an annoying guy.
And for me, I kind of see the double turn that you've been talking about, but like, I don't think it works, because Waller can play the heel, but I don't mind him as like maybe a babyface with an edge, and then I think LA Knight is just he's a heel. Like I don't.
He's not the most
whether
convincing
that's
babyface
where they're
so
going
far.
or not. He's just not a babyface. Like whether they're going to try that or not. Like he just. Ever since I've seen him, like even when he was Eli Drake, I've never seen Eli Drake as a babyface, not once in my life.
Right.
And then LA Knight, like he just everything about him is just not a babyface, right? So
It's
like
definitely more work to get him babyface
I'm
than
fine
Waller
with
heel.
Waller going heel, but like then he shouldn't be feuding with LA Knight.
Right. I thought he was okay here. I did like the comparisons to Rock and John Cena just because they're so ridiculous. It's kind of funny, right? So I thought that was okay. Yeah. I'd like him to dial it back a bit again and be a little more subtle, but I thought this was okay. So we then transitioned right into a non-title match, which is sort of one of the themes of this show, right? I think there was a couple of them.
Yeah, there was actually, yeah.
Yeah, so Tommaso Ciampa is taking on Grayson Waller. So I sort of walked into this assuming this was going to be like a 3 to 5 minute affair, right? Not really expecting a ton.
I don't know. I could have also seen it being like that Roderick Strong match with Waller that I ended up liking, because that was like a good showcase for Waller. So, I mean, I guess I had a bit of expectation just based on that.
So Ciampa's on fire right away with aggressive stomps in the corner, and then we get a nice running knee to Waller seated in the corner, and another one right after. Neckbreaker by Waller after he pulls Ciampa off the second rope. We get a back elbow by Ciampa that finally stops Waller in his tracks, but Waller a bit later hits another neckbreaker and then stays in control with some basic offense for a while here. Ciampa eventually gets his boot up, but we get a spine buster by Waller, and he goes for the people's elbow, right? Because he's already made reference to The Rock, I guess. But he misses that move. Ciampa then takes over.
He didn't do it great. He didn't do it like the same either.
No, he put his
I can't
own
remember
little
if he was
flair on
wearing
it.
elbow pads, but
I think
he was wearing a elbow pad and he didn't even remove it, so he sucks because he didn't even. You have to remove the elbow pad.
For sure. Ciampa takes over with clotheslines. Waller goes over the top to the floor. Ciampa throws Waller over the announce table as we head into commercial. And just so you know, up where we're watching, we do not get picture-in-picture despite it being promised here. Ciampa catches Waller.
That used to be AEW's thing.
Yeah. Catches Waller with a knee as Waller comes off the second rope. Ripcord DDT by Ciampa, but Waller counters the fairy tale ending into a roll-up for a 2 count. We get a fireman's carry into a spinebuster for 2 by Waller. It looked pretty good. He then goes up top, but Ciampa follows him and hits a pretty nice air raid crash off the second rope, sort of falling backwards, right, for a near fall. We get chops to kneeling Waller, but he sort of counters the fairy tale ending a second time into cravat knees, and then what I called a torture rack into a roll through slam. So he ends up sort of rolling through, and they're on their stomach, right?
It was like a fireman's carry rolling senton, but in a torch rack instead.
Right.
Which, I mean, he didn't land great on it. But...
No, but it's still kind of interesting. And then he hits a second rope elbow drop right after that for another 2 count. Diving tope to Ciampa on the floor now. And then Ciampa suddenly rolls Waller into position for the Willow's Bell, which he actually does hit. Follows up immediately with the fairy tale ending and picks up the win in about 13 and a half minutes. That's like an Iron Man match on NXT 2.0.
Yeah, I'm surprised about that time limit.
Me too. What did you think of the opener?
I thought it was a pretty good opener. Better than anything they've done the past 3 weeks, which is that's just sad. Waller got a surprising amount of offense, which is good for him, and this was a smart way to book him after last week because Ciampa was always going to win. It's just a matter of making him look good, which I think they did a good job of. Which it's weird to say that they did
good job of making someone look good.
Not a horrible job doing something. And that's also what I liked about that Waller Strong match a little while back.
Yep.
I think this one was definitely longer, but I don't know. I still probably like that one better. The one was Strong.
It was good, yeah. Waller's good.
I think this is a good start to the show, and then it's nothing but down.
Waller's one of the. Again, we talked about it before. He has some experience wrestling, right? He didn't just walk off a football field and into
right. And they keep saying like he just walked off reality TV, but like he obviously had a bit of wrestling.
I looked it up. I think he's been wrestling 4 years, right? Which I think he looks pretty good. I thought this was a really good match, and he's
definitely one of the better quote unquote new school guys.
I kind of think they're making a future star here. This felt more like a match from NXT 1.0, right? I thought for sure, and there's a couple on this show, which was nice. So I was surprised at how competitive Waller was made to look. Like I would say he spent the majority of this match on offense, right? And he looked really good. And he has like a deceptive strength because you kind of expect him because he started out on 205 Live, right? To be this cruiserweight really fast. But he had some nice power moves as well and showed off some quickness. So I thought he got a lot in this match and he looked really good. And Ciampa looked super aggressive to start out. And then he sort of like stepped aside and let this kid do his thing and look good. So I thought it was an excellent start to the show. And again, this was like almost 3 times longer than I expected it to be. So I really enjoyed this match actually to start out. So LA Knight is then shown backstage watching the match that just took place, and Mackenzie asks him about it. So Knight talks about how he could have cost Waller that match, but Waller did a good job doing that by himself, like Knight knew he would. So it was kind of like that, him going, right, like, I would do traditional heel stuff, but I'm not a heel anymore.
Yeah, and then part of it for me, both, is that, like, he's kind of like, then the line after feels kind of heel to me. So, I don't know. For me, it's like a bit of mixed signals.
Yeah,
like,
it could be. And then Knight says Waller sucks, and that's a fact of life. And Joe Gacy shows up, another kind of hint maybe that Knight's going babyface right now. He's got issues with other heels on the show, but anyways. So Gacy shows up and says that Knight's words are destructive. Knight says he's close to attacking Gacy now, and Gacy says his safe space in the ring is always open. Knight thinks that Gacy sounds creepy and says that in the ring there will be no microaggressions, but maybe some ruthless aggression. Ha ha ha. Knight says Gacy will get his ass stomped, and that is not an insult, that's just a fact of life. Yeah. Knight walks away as Gacy says Knight should leave the aggression in the locker room. What did you think?
I thought it was okay. It doesn't really work. I just, Knight does not work as a babyface. Like, I think he definitely dialed back heel a bit in some parts, but in some parts it just feels like regular LA Knight. So I like I said, I'm getting a bit of mixed signals, and like,
yes,
I feel like him feuding with heels doesn't like necessarily make him a face, because like this is the same company and same brand that booked like a lot of heel versus heel title matches and feuds and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, yes, sometimes granted, like Hit Row turned face kind of, for example, but like I don't know, and I don't know, it just doesn't. It just
feels like
weird.
He's trying to do the super cocky baby face like The Rock pulled off.
Right, but it just doesn't feel the same.
And lately, Knight hasn't really been winning either, right? Like we talked about this before. It's not like he's put a string of dominant wins together, right? So it's kind of, there's a bit of a disconnect,
and him,
I think.
Him with Gacy here, that just feels like kind of random and just...
It does.
Out of the blue, like, and considering he's definitely not done with Waller, I don't understand the interaction with Gacy either.
Yeah. So Waller, I guess, like to me, it looks more double turn than to you, because Waller's clearly a heel, right?
I definitely see it, but I don't see why they're doing it, because it definitely...
No, I don't either.
I definitely don't think it will work.
So I thought it was a fine segment. It seems to be providing Knight with another heel opponent that he can beat ahead of Waller. That's where I thought this was going at the time. Who knows? But yeah, I thought it was okay.
They may be occupied elsewhere.
We then get, in my notes, quote-unquote highlights from last week's Poker Showdown, where basically Grimes ends up bluffing.
Highlights is considerate.
He bluffed Duke Hudson, and Hudson got mad, and then powerbombed Grimes through the poker table, which actually looked kind of good.
And cut his beard.
And then got scissors and cut his beard and hair for no reason, really. Like that was a very random thing to attack, right? Like I don't know, I guess...
Maybe because Grimes is ugly hillbilly, and he is big, handsome, muscular man.
It just feels like they worked their way backwards, right? They went... and poorly, because maybe it's not a bad way to do it, but then, okay, so we want to get to a hair versus hair match.
Spoiler.
How do we get there? And then it was like this most obvious, ridiculous, we'll just have him grab scissors and cut his hair.
I have more to say on this.
Oh, we'll get there then.
Segment.
So the Phantom interviewer, as I describe it, because I don't know who they're talking to.
It's like the interviewer's holding the camera or something.
So they try to interview Toxic Attraction. They say something about War Games and call Cora Jade a poser, and that she doesn't belong in the same ring as Mandy. Dakota then joins them, and she's doing her acting really strange and twitchy and whatever, barely acknowledging them as they walk together, like she's sort of in her own little world, I guess is the idea. Then they walk past a bunch of smashed stuff, but they sort of continue on their way.
Looks like someone's personal smash room.
And after they walk by, it's revealed that it is, in fact, Kaylee Ray. She's shown with a baseball bat, and she is the one that has been smashing things. What did you think?
Toxic Attraction suck. This sucked. I don't like Dakota Kai's involvement in this already. And they made her look super stupid here. Whatever new thing is, I don't know what to call it, but it's dumb and they need to drop it. Like, she's never been weird or psychotic or twitchy or whatever this is. It's stupid and random.
And I don't think she's doing well delivering it. And I like her a lot.
Right, and that's not... Maybe she's just out of her depth or something. I don't know. And the Kaylee Ray thing was also stupid, too. Because I don't know. It just didn't make sense either.
Yeah, it wasn't... I thought this was all kind of silly. The idea that someone walks around their place of work smashing things with a baseball bat, right, with no repercussions.
Right, and then why is that her new thing, too? Like, that she's just smashing stuff.
I was wondering how long we could go without Toxic Attraction on the screen, and the answer was just over 20 minutes.
Just one match.
And at least the segment was really short, so I don't know. I mean, I didn't enjoy
Oh,
the
I
interaction,
assure you,
but it
they
was
will
quick.
return.
Oh, they will. You know you're getting at least 2 segments with them every week.
Yep.
Cameron Grimes comes to the ring with his short hair and tidier beard now, so he's sort of...
He looks so weird. Like, not only... I think his hair looks kind of off, and then just the short beard, it's not Cameron Grimes.
He's definitely cleaned up. So he's crying, basically, right away here, and he talks about people pushing him around and telling him he wasn't good enough his whole life, but he showed all those people that Cameron Grimes holds it down. He made it in this industry and struck it rich, but he kept his hair and beard to remind...
I'm sorry, but the hold it down thing sounds like a sex joke or something.
Really?
I don't know. It just sounds like it could be.
I don't think so.
Maybe Chris Jericho said it.
Maybe. But he kept the hair and beard to remind himself of his humble beginnings, to remind himself of when he had nothing. Duke Hudson took that all away and embarrassed Cameron Grimes, but Hudson made a mistake and made Grimes angry. He's done talking, and now he calls Hudson out to the ring. Hudson doesn't come to the ring, but he appears on the screen up at the top of the ramp. He jokes about Grimes getting a free haircut in addition to getting some money from Hudson last week. He goes on to say that he made Grimes look less like a troll. Grimes tells Hudson to be a man and come out to the ring. Hudson refuses and says sorry, not sorry. Grimes says that all Hudson has proved to the crowd is that he's gutless and nutless, and Grimes challenges Hudson to go all in a hair versus hair match at NXT War Games.
It feels so weird saying NXT War Games, you know? It does.
I like that I don't have to say TakeOver. I would have been annoyed if they included TakeOver.
No, I am happy, that they didn't...
They're smart enough to know this.
Tarnish this name, but
exactly. That brand is worth something.
But I don't... It's just weird to say, at least.
It is. Hudson accepts the match and shows that he has Grimes' hair clippings in a Ziploc bag
like
still.
A weirdo.
Which is a little bit strange. Okay, so what did you think of this?
This was lame. Grimes looks way worse with his longer beard, and his hair looks a little off too. Just doesn't look like him. This feels like another way to change him from what he looked like pre-NXT 2.0. Just like, it's small because it's just one person, but it's like another way to like get rid of what NXT like was, right? And after I heard some of Duke's lines, it feels like we're going back to the whole like Cameron Grimes was a messy hillbilly, so he's ugly, and Duke Hudson is a big muscular guy who is handsome.
Yep.
And it's just like another dumb idea that we've moved on from long ago, like many things on the show, and it was just stupid.
It's a throwback, brother.
Yeah. Oh, brother.
Mm-hmm. So I did like a part of this. I really thought Grimes, again, he's super committed to this. Like, the man is out there crying right away. So I think the choice he made to make his hair and beard into a symbol of his humble beginnings, right? Like, that was really well done. Because this guy just randomly cut his hair, and we're like, who cares? But Grimes made it, like, make sense, right? Like,
I don't know. That felt... I see what you're saying, but I feel like that also felt, like, a little random.
I think where else can you go, though? Like, what else is better than that?
No, they did a good job at least trying to cover it up.
Like, that these are a symbol of, like, his humble beginnings and whatnot. But the story seems, like, out of sequence to me, right? Shouldn't Grimes have established the significance of this before? Like, maybe if you reverse those two things...
He maybe wouldn't have a reason to, because, like, he'd be like, my beard is...
But maybe it's Hudson's making fun of his appearance first, right? Yeah. So I feel like they're doing it backwards. Like, Hudson insults his appearance, Grimes explains why he has that appearance and how it's important to him, Hudson takes that appearance away from him, and it makes sense to us, right? Doesn't that seem like the logical progression of this story?
Yeah.
It's like they just took things out of sequence to me. So then... Like, was Hudson just innately aware that the hair was so important to Grimes? You know what I mean? Like, then you
or maybe he wants to make him look nice.
And then you make a hair versus hair match after one of the competitors has already had his hair cut?
I mean, I guess then he would be bald now.
So, but we've already seen that happen, right? So it's not like, I don't know, you're not building any anticipation of Grimes getting his hair and beard cut because it's already... Anyways.
And because it won't happen.
So I liked Grimes' commitment to this and his rationale, but I thought the rest of this was just, like, completely out of order. We then get Pete Dunne, and he tells us he has waited too long to hold a title in NXT.
I agree.
That is a very good point.
He should have won it on the first show.
He will put Gargano out and send him packing, maybe a reference to the contract coming up. And he will make Carmelo Hayes pay his dues. Tonight, the baddest man in NXT becomes North American champion.
Even though he is from the UK. But that does not matter. He needs
the title.
Matter. I thought it was a solid promo. He better win or I will actually quit because this show stinks. Not just this one. In general, it sucks.
Yeah, this was a nice, I thought, quick, like, intense promo from Pete Dunne, who, again,
Can talk now.
it can talk now. Like, it's been a while now, but we say it every time. That was not his strength at one point in his career, and now he's really good. And the match itself should be good, right? Mackenzie is then talking to Persia and Indy Hartwell. Mackenzie asks for an update on Dexter Lumis. Hartwell reveals that Lumis will be out for 1 month with a hand injury after it got stomped in the chair. Hartwell says what makes it worse is that Lumis values his hands because he is an artist.
Oh my god.
Persia offers to wrestle the next tag team match by herself again, like she did last week, so that Hartwell can cool down backstage. Hartwell this time says she's okay to wrestle this week, and she's going to win the match in dedication to her injured husband.
Wait, but she has to be there for her man.
So it will be Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta after the break, taking on Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter.
Cassie Lee.
Thoughts on this?
This wasn't great, even though it was really a short. The Loomis hand injury is obviously fake, but I just don't care about it. Indy saying Gargano will win tonight is insane because he already held the title 3 times, which is too many times. And Pirotta saying she could do it by herself again doesn't exactly build up Carter and Catanzaro. Like, yeah. I don't like them either, but like, I mean, for the sake of not making them look stupid, right. Pre-match.
I honestly, I couldn't muster up any opinion on this. I was just like, fine, I have no feelings about this segment. Like, it's like it gets too hard to manufacture some strong opinion on some of this stuff because I just don't care. And that's part of why we're thinking about abandoning this, right? It's just hard to muster any sort of caring enough to think about it too deeply. But anyways, then we get a new vignette from yet another character that's arriving. So we are going to get Tiffany Stratton, a vignette from her. I've never heard of her. I'm not sure who it is or anything, but the bottom line is she is rich, she's entitled, she plays tennis. She tells us she wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth because silver isn't good enough for her or something along those lines. I didn't quite get it exactly. So I don't love this right off the bat. I mean, I guess it's possible that they could do something with it down the road, but right now it really looks like another very one-dimensional, over-the-top character. Like we talk about it, NXT 2.0 is all about you have one defining characteristic, right? You are Mean Girls. You are a poker player. You are a millionaire hillbilly. So you are like beer drinking tough guys. So everybody gets one overdeveloped characteristic. And thank you. Frosty just showed up here. And for Tiffany Stratton, at least at this point, she is the...
Oh, she was all the time.
She is wealthy, entitled girl, right? And that's it.
Yeah, I agree. So great. We get another basic and stupid gimmick. This time we have the country club tennis rich girl who had her daddy pay for everything, essentially a trust fund baby or something like that. Perfect. And I feel like, is Tiffany not like a stereotypical name for this kind of person? Like, I feel like among the names... you could pick for this kind of character, it feels like one of the first things that would have popped into their head.
Rich, stereotypical, and Stratton too, the whole package.
And I can't wait to see her stupid ring gear. Like, Tony D'Angelo has dumb ring gear that's supposed to fit into his character. I'm thinking hers will either be like a white tennis outfit with like the skirt like in the video, or like maybe some private school looking thing. Because there's no way she gets a normal ring gear with a gimmick like this.
I have zero faith that they'll pull this off, right? So I assume it'll be terrible. That's where they've got me at this point. I'm the optimistic one of this partnership, and I think it's
terrible until proven otherwise, rather than the other way around.
At this point, the evidence is overwhelming. So we get the match: Indy Hartwell and Persia Pirotta taking on Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter, who are now the concert girls,
ravers,
good time raver girls, whatever.
Oh my god, their entrance is so dumb. It's like when they get into the ring,
smoke cannons or something.
Yeah, they have like smoke cannons, right? And then they're handing out the bracelets. And then when they get in the ring, first of all, Catanzaro doesn't even do the cool post climb anymore. And then now in the ring, like Catanzaro will be laying on the mat. She'll be like doing some weird dancing from the ground, and then like Carter will be like shaking back and forth with like, and she's got like the bracelets on her waist, so those are like shaking. It's so
I did not even notice this, but yeah, they're kind of. I could see in certain, maybe not, because I feel like they control some of their crowd. I could see a crowd turning on these two, right? Because it's like you're not entertaining and fun.
There's no depth to this.
And you're cramming it down our throats how fun you are, and you're not really that fun. But anyways, so they have their smoke guns or whatever during their entrance. Carter.
I don't think that was present the first time we saw this.
I don't think so. Carter outquicks Pirotta early on, but eventually gets run over by a shoulder tackle. Indy is like cartoonish in this, right? distracted is what she is asked to sell here. So she's not really paying attention. She's staring at her wedding ring repeatedly, just like over the top cartoon sports entertainment crap
Right,
that
she's
I
like,
have no
has
interest
to stare at her hand the whole time.
and makes this all basically pointless. But anyways,
Yeah.
Kaden Carter gets control here. She flips Catanzaro over her shoulder and onto Hartwell at one point. We get weak strikes and kicks by Catanzaro before Parada drops her face first on the top turnbuckle. The heels then isolate Catanzaro for a while. And a little bit later, Persia needs a tag, but of course, Indy's looking at her wedding ring, doesn't make the tag. Indy does finally come in, hits a sidewalk slam, but then takes a moment to look at her ring some more. Groan.
Because she didn't look at it for like 30 seconds.
And then I forget exactly what happened, but we end up with the assisted splash, and Carter and Catanzaro win in 3.5 minutes.
I would just like to say that was a sucky finisher.
It wasn't great. What about the match as a whole?
This was not good. It was very short. There's no interesting action in the ring. Indy Hartwell constantly looking at her hand was so stupid and dumb because she can't even focus on the damn match for a minute, or in this case, the whole match. Haha, short match, NXT joke. Carter and Canzaro's finisher was dumb, and their entire stick sucks too.
Yeah, it wasn't good, this match. And to be fair, it wasn't really about the match. It was more about the storyline within it. Again, that feels like I'm watching a cartoon, right? This is not how adults behave. This is not how grown human beings behave. They don't... It's like it's again, WWE's assuming that the audience is stupid. We can't just have her looking distracted and maybe a little bit delayed on tagging and things. She has to like overtly stare at her finger with this ring repeatedly, right? Because you guys are idiots and you might not pick up on it if we do it subtly. So we got to smash you over the head with it because you're not very smart.
It's got to completely affect her match performance, right?
We have to demonstrate this so clearly. Right. Really bad. The index ship has sailed for me. I want something new for both of them at this point. And commentary telling us constantly about how upset and distracted Indy is also annoying because that's, again, you people watching this aren't very smart. So we need to tell you and show you overtly, right? So that we can't leave you to figure out anything for yourselves because you might not get it. Mm-hmm. And everything's a love storyline, so it's very important. Anyways, we get a really quick Escobar vignette ahead of his match that's coming up. And then we get good old Andre Chase and his students are walking backstage now. They're out of their classroom, I think for the first time, right?
I think so, yeah.
Backstage, they run into Cameron Grimes. Chase warns Grimes about making decisions out of frustration, and Grimes tells Chase to go to hell pretty much immediately. And that was basically it, right? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this as I eat some of this Frosty before it melts?
It was fine. I don't know. There wasn't really much to this, and I don't know. I feel like some of the students there, that's just like their pre-wrestling exposure.
Yeah, that one blonde guy, you can tell they're going to use him, right? He was the last guy to sort of stand up for Chase in the classroom. I forget what his name was. But he clearly looks like he's in training, right? So at the time, I figured this is Grimes' opponent ahead of the Hudson match, right? For him to pick up a win, because we know Chase isn't beating anyone ever at this point. And I thought, yes, that the blonde guy is clearly a wrestler, and this was short and nothing of consequence, really. I guess just setting up a warm-up match is what I thought for Grimes. We then get Santos Escobar making his return, I guess, in the ring here, taking on Malik Blade. Is it Malik or Malik?
They call him Malik, but I'd go with Malik because that sounds better.
I don't know. So Blade managed to take down Escobar with a dropkick early on, but Escobar comes back with a roundhouse kick, a couple of them, I think, and a PK to the back of Blade. Blade gets a 2 count off a sunset flip, but Escobar comes back with more strikes and an exploder suplex. Escobar hits Blade with a Meteora and a Phantom Driver for the win in 2.5 minutes. Electra Lopez speaks after the match and says that Legado offered Zion Quinn the offer of a lifetime, and Quinn said no. Electra then says they never needed Quinn anyway, and that Legado
Which is why they wanted him.
Right, is stronger than ever with their leader back. Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner come out to say that they want the tag titles just like Legado does. Von Wagner says that his foot was on the rope in their last match, which I think it was probably, right? His matches are so memorable, I struggle to remember what happened. But then Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner, they're up in the balcony, I guess, basically. And Bartel mocks the crowd for not knowing a second language and says everyone on the floor is acting like children, and neither one of them of the teams will be able to topple the standard bearers of the tag division. Eichner proposed the two other teams wrestle each other for a chance at Imperium at the War Games pay-per-view. Doesn't seem very heely to me to be like, we'd love to fight one of you, but you just need to figure out who it is. But anyways, what did you think of the match and the aftermath as you crushed some Frosty?
It was a squash. I thought that match sucked. Von Wagner just sucks so hard. He sucks.
Everything he says is comedically awful at this point.
Everything he says is stupid. Everything he does in the ring is boring. And he's going to make Kyle O'Reilly suck too. And gee, out of the two teams looking to face Imperium, which one will face them? The experienced tag team of two cruiserweights, or the fresh and thrown together team of Kyle O'Reilly and a big boring plank of wood?
Yeah, he has one of the worst deliveries of lines that I've heard in a really long. And I get this is developmental and whatever, but he's bad. You're putting him on national TV every week talking. I'm gonna tell you he's really, really bad. Right. Not that he can't get good or whatever, but right now he's considering
awful. He already made an appearance on SmackDown. That's just stupid.
I think this was obviously just a simple squash to get Escobar back in action and to get that to the story that followed. Right, the aftermath I guess was fine. It sets up a number one contenders match and a title match down the line. So I guess the segment was productive, if nothing else. But I want to ask you, do you think there's a world where Escobar could be turning on this group? Because like he's gone for a few weeks and they seem to try and replace him, right, with Zion Quinn. Is that ever going to come back around? Probably not.
Nope.
I mean, I'm asking them to be logical.
It's NXT. Nope.
But don't you feel like it's a bit weird that
It's possible.
Away, they're recruiting somebody new, now he's back and they're like, oh, we don't need anybody new.
Yeah.
So maybe. I wonder if he could use if it were AEW, I'd say they'll come back to that in 6 weeks.
They will not. They will ignore it. And they think you're stupid.
They'll either ignore it or they'll go to him breaking up and getting back together within the next week, right? Yep. Like they'll run the full gamut in a week or they'll never go back to it. I remember the Shield reunited
in 2017 and it was cool, and they reunited in 2018 and then they reunited in 2019.
Go back to that well.
And then Moxley was gone.
So Zoe and Io are trying to talk to Cora Jade, but Raquel Gonzalez shows up and starts bickering with Io and Zoe. Jade interrupts and says that the whole can they coexist thing is boring, which she's very right. Ooh. And it's interesting that they've started calling out some of their own tropes on these shows. So she says that their team needs to find a fourth member. Cora Jade leaves. The other three sort of acknowledge that they do need to, in fact, find a fourth.
So I think that's kind of like, yeah, we need to find a fourth. Well,
They curb their bickering. What did you think?
I thought it was fine. I titled the segment Babyface War Games Team Argues. I kind of like Jade's line as it felt like a dig at Survivor Series. Whether it's intended or not, 'cause knowing them, I'm not sure if they would, if they would want to take a slight at their own stuff. They don't. It doesn't seem like them.
Yeah. I liked Jade acknowledging the reluctant partners trope that's in wrestling everywhere. I was going to see WWE, but they're not the only ones guilty of that, right? And sometimes it works, too. It's just that it seems like we're in, this hot streak of everybody doing it. But again, maybe I'm nitpicking or whatever, but why is it this 20-year-old rookie has more wisdom than the veterans again, right? I talk about Kyle O'Reilly, it seems like he's the protege of what's-his-face,
especially Io Shirai. Sure, Raquel's a veteran compared to the new school, but, she's still relatively new. She debuted, right. I think, early
They're not
2020.
20, you know what I mean?
Right? So, right. And, Io Shirai's been wrestling for a while, I know, at least in Japan and whatnot, so,
But it's all the veterans are dumb, and they need the wisdom of some young person to help them.
Who can't actually
Which is, we're appealing to that young crowd, right? See, look, young people, wise, right? It's not just old people, but anyways. Mackenzie then talks to Tony D'Angelo. She asks about his thoughts on the triple threat main event. D'Angelo says some stereotypical stuff, right? Forget about it and whatever else.
Forget about it.
It's hard to listen to. He talks about gambling, which didn't make sense to me at the time, but I think it's going to come back around, obviously, in the main event. And he says he knows people about making bets and things, and that Mackenzie can make bets. If she wants to make a bet on anything, he can sort of talk to her. Ultimately, D'Angelo says he picks Carmelo Hayes to win. So he knows people you can bet on, and he picks Carmelo to win, foreshadowing some stuff, right? What did you think of this?
And don't forget to forget about it.
Forget about it.
Oh, he does the hand gesture.
Of course he does.
This thingy. I hate it. This is stupid. Not only was it stupid, it was also stereotypical and irritating. And he was dissing my boy Pete Dunne the whole time. Not cool. Right. Not cool. He can be as annoying all he wants, but if he's going to diss Pete Dunne while doing it, that's not cool. That's crossing the line. And I'm getting the feeling this is Dunn's next feud. This is not giving confidence he'll win, or he feuds with D'Angelo over the title. Either way, this doesn't look good. Because either way, Dunn is involved with Tony D'Angelo. That is just incredibly sad. And that means most likely Dunn will not be heel anymore because Tony D'Angelo most likely has to be the heel. So now Dunn has to be a babyface again, which he's good at both.
I'm not convinced.
He's good at both, but like
I think D'Angelo, I think the crowd likes this guy.
I just remember that sounds right. Okay, that's good because
and when I say crowd, maybe it's the plants they put in there.
No, because he seems to, when he's coming in, he's going like forget about it. He's like come on, or something like that. Like he does seem. I know what you're saying. He does seem to get like a pretty strong reaction at least, right?
He does.
So that's not good. And I don't know. This sucks for Pete Dunne.
Yeah, this was as bad as this guy is every week. He's a joke, and not in a way that's funny. It's ridiculous. I don't like it. It's not something that needs to be on TV in this day and age, but at least it was super short to be positive.
Yep, that's something positive.
We then go to non-title match number 2 tonight, and that is Mandy Rose taking on Cora Jade. And we get forearms early from Cora Jade as commentary talk about her being wise beyond her years, right? So they picked up on the thread that I was pulling there.
It's basically a wrestler who can't wrestle versus a skater who can't skate.
We get a leg lariat by Jade, but a spine buster by Mandy. Suplex by Rose for 2, then a neck vice. We get the Rose signature body scissors. Yawn, right? Like it's just I guess it's a rest hold, but when matches are 3 or 4 minutes, do we need rest holds? I guess it's supposed to, at least she has powerful legs, right? Sure. It's a boring thing to watch. But
it seems like something like oh, look at her legs. Like
maybe to accentuate the legs. Clothesline, back elbow, and a Hurricane Rana by Jade, and a little flurry there. Then a high knee in the corner by Cora Jade. Mandy Rose avoids a missile drop kick. Kaylee Ray walks out with the bat, hits the ring post and some stuff at ringside. And then Kaylee Ray throws the bat in the ring. It distracts Mandy Rose, and Jade gets the roll up here for the win in about 4 minutes. Talk about it. Go ahead. I'll have some Frosty.
A short match where nothing happens except a stupid finish, and poor Kaylee Ray is involved now. Yay!
Mm-hmm.
Loved it.
The match wasn't great, obviously, but again, it was more about the aftermath than the match. A recurring theme sort of on this show as well. I hate that Kaylee Ray, it seems to me at this point, before it goes any further in the show, it was my thoughts at the time, that she's just going to be used as a credible opponent for Mandy Rose, right? For Mandy Rose to pick up a win and further establish her title reign.
The fact that Mandy Rose is champion on NXT still makes me sad.
Which is not how Kaylee Ray, I keep telling everyone she's awesome. She hasn't gotten a chance to show it on NXT at all. She's awesome.
That is, yep, that's true.
But for now, I guess she'll be the 4th for War Games or something. We'll see later on. She deserves better than being an add-on to a match, if that's where this is going. Carmelo Hayes then talks about the disrespect that should have stopped last week. He puts himself over and how much he's accomplished in a short time in NXT. He says Hayes is keeping them relevant, and they chase him since he's the A champion and is what he says he is. And tonight, he'll shoot and not miss. Thoughts on a brief Carmelo Hayes promo?
Shouldn't he not say that tonight he'll shoot and won't miss? Because doesn't he say Mello don't miss?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, speaking up, he's got to stop repeating the same lines over and over. It's getting old real quick. Turk didn't say much, but he still sucked.
Yeah, I like Hayes' promo here. He has really good confidence and swagger. He is a bit of a catchphrase machine, but I bet you that's like a shortcut to the main roster if you have a whole bunch of catchphrases. Trick was basically silent here, right? So I like that part of it. We then cut to Joe Gacy. He's cutting a promo about how he's going to open the eyes of the blind. And then the segment ends with Harlan's hand showing up, patting Gacy on the shoulder. His match with LA Knight is next.
Or is it?
So I don't know. This was just a very couple seconds long.
Yeah, it was fine, but it was super short. Nothing. I don't know. His promo just he doesn't really do anything for me. I don't love it.
Some of his stuff's okay, and they're really dragging out the debut of Harlan, right? And I hope he's worth it.
It's almost too long.
He has to be hopefully decent, or else it's like, really, we waited a month for this, right?
Right.
But I guess we'll find out. Kaylee Ray then meets up with Io Shirai, Zoe Stark, Cora Jade, and Raquel Gonzalez conveniently backstage and basically agrees to join their team. She then even offers to wrestle in the match for the advantage in the War Games. So she volunteers for that match next week. And I don't know, I just thought this was fairly obvious. The War Game match definitely could use some more experience, right? Because like last week I was talking about it, I'm not really joking. It's borderline irresponsible to put some of these women in this match,
Right,
because
so
they're
it's
not, and
supposed to
not because
be-
they're women, because they don't have any
It's
experience
supposed to be Keith
wrestling.
Lee versus Dakota Kai next week, so that's
Right.
good. But I will not watch it.
Because it's classic, like, you need to learn to crawl before you can walk or run, right? They're basically asking some of these women to run before they've
Run a
walked
freaking
for
like
very
marathon
long.
or something.
So I don't know what's going to happen here, but like, the question is, can, like, any of the opponents in War Games hang with Io and Kaylee Ray? We'll find out, I guess, and maybe make that match entertaining. I don't know. LA Knight's making his entrance for his match against Joe Gacy, but he is attacked on the ramp by Grayson Waller, because this is just now like the most bitter feud ever.
All of a sudden.
And they're brawling as people try to break them up. So Joe Gacy's already in the ring, sitting in a chair.
Not to get too ahead of myself, I think this could be like the second coming of Gargano Ciampa.
Oh, for sure. He says he wants to teach Knight how to resolve his conflicts peacefully, but that was not to be tonight. So Malcolm Bivens and Diamond Mine come out, and Bivens speaks obviously for the group. He says Gacy tried to steal the spotlight from Diamond Mine last week, but now they want to steal it from him. He tells Gacy to clear the ring so Ivy Nile can have her match. Gacy said he respects that Nile has the right to have a match, but he doesn't respect NXT Cruiserweight champion Roderick Strong, in a sharp left turn here, right? I don't know. Gacy says that Strong's name itself invokes toxic masculinity, which is actually a pretty funny line.
Funny, yeah.
Me too. And I like this too. The cruiserweight division promotes weight shaming, and the concept of a cruiserweight division is meant to divide, which is also like, for somebody
That's
playing
both not true and true at the same time.
right, and for someone playing an overwoke character, right? Like, it makes sense. You're dividing us based on our weight, and anything that's like exclusion, basically, right? You're saying certain people can't wrestle for this belt, and so that's kind of funny to me too. And that the whole idea that it's also weight shaming, like, I kind of like this, I'm not gonna lie. Roderick Strong speaks, which is never a good decision, and he wants to embarrass Joe Gacy. Bivens says that he is going to get Strong versus Gacy added to War Games. Sure, I guess. Why not, right?
There's no general manager.
Bivens then tells the Creed brothers to take out the trash in Joe Gacy. Harlan then shows up out of nowhere, kind of, I think it was,
Because
shows
he
up
is one
behind
big
Gacy.
man, okay?
He
and
is.
they are like 3 people, 2 of which are also kind of big.
Right.
But he's one large person, so.
He is very large. Bivens tells the Creeds to back down as Gacy's theme plays to end the segment. What did you think?
I don't know. I thought it was fine. I mean, I guess I'm glad we didn't get another match, but I don't know. This was lame. I think overall, Gacy didn't do much for me. I mean, I don't believe he qualifies for the Cruiserweight title, and I saw on their Instagram story asking if the title should be more inclusive, which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Although, we were talking, you could say it could shift into an open weight title,
Yep.
which I don't mind the concept of, but I don't know. I kind of like having a Cruiserweight title.
I imagine that Gacy wins the title and he does rename it something, right? And says that it's no longer exclusive. It's inclusive of
A
everybody.
non-Cruiserweight wins the Cruiserweight title.
And it
then
also
ends it.
fits the get the titles off the old guys and just turn the keys over to the kids and see what happens, right? So I did kind of like this, right? The idea for his character, this makes sense for him to say it's dividing people and weight shaming people. So I thought for an overwoke character, that's heel character specifically, it's pretty funny. But are Diamond Mine baby faces now? I was a little confused by that. But somewhat entertained
Maybe
as
they're
well.
slightly more likable.
And Gacy and Strong could have a good match because, again, Gacy's a guy that is not new to wrestling. He's new to WWE, but he's been wrestling quite a while. So they could have a good match if they're given time. And I'm also happy that this...
Wait, you think they'll be given time?
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
It's
at
on
least
a
it is
pay-per-view.
on pay-per-views. Okay, so that's a little different. I guess.
And the good news is Roddy Strong has taken a step back from Odyssey Jones here, right? Which I like as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love Gacy in here either, because, I mean, he's
Oh my
not
god, I just
Cruiserweight,
realized
but...
what's happening.
What?
Gacy's transitional champion to Odyssey Jones.
Oh.
As soon as there's no more weight limit, boom, boom, here comes 400-pound Odyssey Jones. Is that not what's happening?
That is definitely what's happening. Yeah, well,
It is what's happening, I'm sure.
That's dumb.
I just thought of that now, but anyways, that's where we're going, right? Gets Gacy a title, and then anyways, who cares?
Yep.
So MSK are in a car together, looking for the shaman. I need a sigh here, sorry. Lee asks Carter to slow down. A police car pulls up behind them with lights and sirens on. MSK argue about what to do with their bag of drugs as the officer approaches the car, but they'll never say the word drugs because NXT 2.0 is super edgy, right? It turns out that MSK were going too slow, right? Which is which is a stereotype of
I
like.
remember. That reminds me of I remember in the Goldbergs. I think Pops, the grandpa, he's driving to like break Erica, cause it's that episode where she's trying to live without her mom, and so her and her friend get arrested right for scalping tickets.
Yeah.
And so she calls her grandpa, obviously, because she doesn't want, and then he's driving, and so the cop tells him to pull over, and he doesn't have a license, and he's like, "Hey, do you know what speed you're going?" He was like 50, and then the officer's like 3, and he's like 53.
No.
Right? Yeah.
So this is another reference to like if you're really really high, you drive super slow. So that's
I thought it was just you drive recklessly.
That's the joke they're getting
or is that
into.
that's drunk driving?
That's more drunk driving.
Yeah.
So this is like been in a movie, several movies. Super Troopers for one, I think was one of them. But anyways, this is a joke that is not new. So they're asked to get out of the car, and things are getting dramatic. Like it looks like MSK is gonna get caught either. I mean, I guess we're making a joke out of a DUI here, which is kind of an interesting choice, but
like the Usos have done that a bunch. Jeff Hardy, I think, maybe possibly.
So they get out of the car. The officers ask to see what's in the bag, and MSK, of course, are getting nervous. I think even the music like picks up, and it's getting super dramatic.
They have to have music in the background.
So they're about to open up the bag and probably reveal their stash, but a speeding car flies by. So the cops have to leave to go and deal with that.
Not like they can get other cops.
So this was the opening segment of Super Troopers, basically a movie that I've seen a million times. But anyways, the segment ends with Beth wondering what's in the bag. In case you guys didn't notice that the bag is the key object of interest here, I'm going to club you over the head with it. Because you're stupid, and you might not pick up on it. What'd you think of this?
This is stupid. These guys have really slowed down the card. They went from champs to absolutely nothing.
Yep. This is like, aren't we so edgy? We're trying really, really hard.
It wasn't even
There's
edgy.
talk of going 14A. Everything's about sex and drugs. Aren't we hip and cool? Right? But it's not. It's not even interesting. So I'm not on board with this segment.
Boring.
Any of these MSK segments.
Yeah, these have all been big misses.
Just nothing. Like nothing. Anyways. We then get Ivy Nile taking on Yulisa Leon, I think was the name. Or Leon, I don't know.
I don't care.
So Yulisa avoids Nile early on with a sort of like a judo roll. Nile comes back with a trip and then does push-ups on the back of Leon. Nile takes her down with a hard rebound lariat I thought looked okay. An overhead throw into a head scissors and a leg choke by Nile. And then Yulisa finally escapes the hold with a cartwheel. Nile quickly rolls through a roll-up attempt, transitions into a dragon sleeper for the win in under...
3 minutes?
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. How did you know?
Lucky guess.
What'd you think?
I don't know. It was a short squash. It was whatever. Her finisher was better this week than that boring torture rack, but it didn't look to be applied super strong. It's like that dragon sleeper with her hands behind her back.
Yeah.
I remember Aleister Black did that a bit. He did that way better.
Yeah. I think Nile has a really cool look, right? Like she's short, but she is ripped and looks super strong. And I think that she's coming across a bit better than a lot of the new talent. They're not asking her to do a lot, and she can actually do a couple things. So of some of like the new recruits, I think she's looked pretty decent so far, and they're not asking her to speak or anything, which is probably a good idea at this point too. So I think she looks okay, and I think her actual look is really cool, right? She looks very unique, so I think there's a potential for her. We then get a Solo Sikoa video package where he talks about how he grew up with the down since day one guys, making a reference there.
Ooh.
But that they left him to fend on his own. Remember, we asked that, like, are we to believe that the family just, Rikishi and everybody else just abandoned him, right? So, I don't know. Anyways, he talks about how all will bow down before the street champion of the islands, Solo Sikoa. At least it's not comedy. That's what that's my really only comment.
It was fine. I find it hard to believe that they just abandoned Solo Sikoa.
Right. And it was his first sort of reference to them, a little bit subtle there. But yeah, for me, it's just like, hey, it's a non-comedy gimmick on a show that's pretty much full of them. So I'm not even sure I like this guy, but I appreciate that he's not trying to be funny, right? Zach Gibson and James Drake, speaking of trying to be funny, are shown randomly trying to steal a guy's wallet. I guess it was backstage. As then we see Grayson Waller and LA Knight are still brawling as they sort of brawl into frame as referees are trying to separate them. Then we get Boa, who's sitting on Mei Ying's throne. Basically, he reveals that Mei Ying has passed on and passed her spirit to him, and he cannot control it yet. But once he learns to control it, all will fear Boa. And then suddenly his face has the face paint on it, and he exhales some vapor to end the segment. What did you think?
It just confirms Tian Shaw's gone. I think the whole he can't control it thing is kind of dumb.
The Mei Ying thing is gone, yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gone.
I don't really care.
I thought this was kind of looks cool, but I'm not a big fan of the whole, like, he's been possessed by the spirit of Mei Ying. I guess I'm a little bit intrigued to see where they go with it. I just wish I liked Boa better in the ring, right? Like, if he had been impressing me in the ring and they were trying to give him a character and get him on TV, that's fine, but his matches have just been like kick, 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 you know what I mean? Pretty much, but I don't know. We'll see where this goes, I guess. Grizzled Young Veterans, James Drake and Zach Gibson taking on the team of Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen, with Brooks Jensen in his homemade t-shirt that makes him look ridiculous.
BJ.
I wonder if they sell these on... They better not be like trying to sell those.
That'd be funny.
They might be. I don't know. Jensen gets control of Drake right away, and he and Briggs hit a double shoulder tackle. We get a lame double team punch thing to Drake in the ropes. Remember they go through all the pageantry of like sliding out to the... It's kind of like Dustin Rhodes thing, I guess, but it's two of them doing it. I thought it was kind of silly.
I don't.
Drake then runs away from Jensen, and Gibson makes a blind tag to get control of Jensen for a bit here. We get a short arm clothesline and a headlock by Gibson. Then it goes to a split screen because this match is so important that we need to see evidence that LA Knight and Grayson Waller are still fighting backstage. We then get a belly to back by Jensen to break a headlock, but Jensen can't make the tag and Drake takes over for the veterans. We get a backdrop by Jensen. He finally tags in Briggs, who cleans house, hits a side slam and a splash to James Drake. Drake then fakes a tweaked knee in the corner and Gibson gets ready to interfere, but Briggs knocks him down off the ropes to stop that attempt. Jensen and Briggs hit their high-low, like total elimination style finisher for the win.
How dare you? That is undisputed.
In 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, jobbing up my boys
right?
in less than 5 minutes.
Yep, 100%.
Woo! A 3-minute enhancement match with nothing of note, and of course Briggs and Jensen had to go over. This was dumb.
Yeah, poor Grizzled Young Veterans, man. A really quality tag team that's been made to look really foolish in like the past probably month, I would say, with ridiculous vignettes. And now they have to lose clean to a rookie team in 4 minutes. I really felt bad for James Drake as he looked incredibly weak, just being dominated by Jensen and then running away from the other team, literally. And that's fine if they're ever going to get sort of some control of the match, right? But they really didn't. So the veterans looked like a joke through no fault of their own, and I pretty much hated this match.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Commentary team run down the War Games matches, which I will do here quickly. Duke Hudson versus Cameron Grimes in a hair versus hair match. Roderick Strong versus Joe Gacy for the Cruiserweight Championship with the weight limit waived, and the Women's War Game match. And also we're getting Kaylee Ray Dakota Kai next week to figure out who gets the advantage in War Games. We then move to our main event, which both of us were looking forward to at least. It is Johnny Gargano taking on Pete Dunne, taking on Carmelo Hayes for the North American Championship. So right away, Dunne is thrown out of the ring to start, and Gargano gets control of Carmelo Hayes. So then Dunne runs over Hayes and Gargano as they both go for some holds and counters until Hayes takes them both out with clotheslines. We get a spot I didn't really like where Dunne puts both men in half crabs at the same time after an ankle lock at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't really love the submission to two people at the same time.
It works sometimes, but I feel like most of the time it's a miss.
It's not my favorite. Springboard twisting clothesline by Hayes to Dunne and Gargano, who were engaged in a hold at the time. We get a bulldog clothesline combination by Gargano to both men. Satellite DDT by Gargano, who kicks Hayes in the process. As he's given the DDT to Dunne, he sort of swings around and kicks Hayes in the face. Looked pretty good. Gargano suicide dives to each man on opposite sides of the ring, followed by a Hurricane Rana to Pete Dunne on the floor, heading us into a commercial break where we're promised picture-in-picture, but we don't get it again. Everyone is down after the break, and we see a replay of Hayes' springboard leg drop during the commercial. Dunne targets Hayes' arms now with a flurry to both, but Gargano breaks it up. Slingshot spear by Gargano, and he counters the bitter end into a really nice-looking DDT. We get stereo kicks to Hayes' head, but he hits a code breaker to Dunne, then a front suplex to Dunne onto Gargano. Dunn with stomps for both, but Gargano hits a poison rana to Dunn and a clothesline to Hayes as things are sort of picking up here near the end. Gargano lawn darts Hayes into the second turnbuckle, and he kicks Trick Williams off the apron. Dunn hits the bitter end, but good old Tony D'Angelo, who I guess put money on this match and bet on Carmelo Hayes, he gets involved. He pulls Dunn out of the ring, which allows Carmelo Hayes to hit his top rope leg drop to the back of Gargano's head to win the match after 11 and a half minutes. So 2 minutes less than the opener, which is interesting. What did you think of this? This signals the death knell as far as Jack's concerned to NXT 2.0. Pete Dunne does not win the championship. Looks like we may be done talking about NXT 2.0, but talk about this match.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. No done intended.
This was okay, but I feel like it wasn't great. Didn't live up to expectations because I don't think he got the time it needed. I did not like Tony D'Angelo's interference, and since Pete Dunne did not win, I quit. I'm going to stick to it this time. The show's been crap for weeks on end, months on end, actually, since its existence. And Dunne did not win, so I am done. The aftermath was, I guess I'll talk to you. Are you going to mention that? Or
I am going to, yes.
Okay. Yeah, this is bad.
So I thought this was an entertaining, fast-paced match. I can't say I'm surprised by the result at all. I really don't see veterans getting title runs in NXT, and if they do, it'll just be to pass it off to another youngster, probably, because that's the focus of the show. It is truly just a developmental show, and I guess we're making the decision that we don't want to watch people learn on the job, right? And we don't enjoy it.
Especially certain people.
Some of them will become professionals and will probably be awesome in the future, and we'll watch them somewhere down the line, but
some of them named Von Wagner will sit and do nothing.
It's become clear what this show is. I feel like we've given it more than enough time to prove what it is, and it is just a bunch of people getting squash matches and trying to learn how to act in real time, and it's not entertaining. The writing
some of them are just not.
The writing's bad, the execution's bad, and we're not getting wrestling. At the end of the day, I need some wrestling, and getting one match out of 2 hours is not going to keep me coming back, right? So
even then, I get a few quality matches on AEW, which are even the worst match on AEW usually is better than the best match on NXT.
The main event on AEW this week blew away anything on Survivor Series, as far as I'm concerned.
I would say anything WWE put out this week.
Right. So, anyways, after this, Wade Barrett is sort of wondering if Carmelo paid Tony D'Angelo to help him win the match. Grayson Waller and LA Knight bring their brawl out to ringside, and there's a War Games chant that breaks out. Again, I firmly believe there's plants in this crowd.
Are we meant to believe that they've just been punching each other the whole
time? They are very fit people. So
just stamina on these guys.
Trick William and Carmelo try to crush Gargano's hand in a chair like they did to Loomis last week, but Tommaso Ciampa runs in, cleans house, and the baby faces stand in the ring. Then all of a sudden...
Well, baby faces and Pete Dunne, okay.
Sirens blare. Braun Breaker makes his entrance with a mic in his hand. He simply yells War Games, and it looks like we get the NXT
and then we get a big fat brawl with sirens blaring the entire time.
With NXT 1.0 guys brawling with NXT 2.0 guys, and that's how the show ends. What'd you think of this final segment?
The aftermath was a flaming crap pile of mindless brawling. This announcement of War Games is not surprising, is not interesting, is not as cool without William Regal. Where the hell has William Regal been? The new school team is lame because D'Angelo and Breaker suck butt, and Hayes and who is it? Hayes, Breaker, D'Angelo. I'm missing one.
Not Trick, is it?
No.
Okay.
It's
I don't know. This is how dialed in I am on this show.
So wait, Gargano's feuding with Hayes, Dunne is feuding with D'Angelo, Ciampa's feuding with Waller. That's who it was. Okay, so Waller's good and Hayes good, but the other two suck butt. And the old school team confused me because I have no idea why Dunne or Knight would want to team with DIY.
Because they needed to fill a match on a pay-per-view, man.
No, yeah, even if Knight's babyface, I don't think he seems like the guy who wanted to team with them, and Dunne still doesn't. He's a heel. He can work either way, but he's better as a heel. He doesn't seem like he would want to be here. The whole concept of this War Games match is stupid too. It's literally just new school versus old school, which is dumb. I'll check a War Games, but I'm done with the show.
Yeah, this felt really random and lazy to me. It's just new guys versus veterans suddenly out of the blue, right? Seems to bring into question whether several of the competitors are heel or faces too, as they're kind of just smashing people together.
Right. I think most of the new school people are heels.
And this reminds me of the last days of WCW with the New Blood storyline that was legendary levels of bad.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Feels a bit like that.
Ooh.
So final thoughts and a letter grade on this masterpiece. For the last time for a while,
That's
at least.
disrespectful. This is an okay show by NXT 2.0 standards,
was.
but the opener was solid, because the opener solid, and the main event wasn't a dumpster fire.
Agreed.
Other than those two matches, you had nothing redeemable. You had a bunch of quick, nothing 2-minute matches or whatever, and stupid, boring segments. Pete did not win the title, and I'm a man of my word. I quit. This show's stupid, and I'm done with it. It has sucked from the beginning and forever driven the legacy of NXT into the ground and is dancing on the grave at this point. Even if we get one or, God forbid, two redeeming matches and or segments on the show, the bad massively overwhelms the good on a weekly basis. Or even anything decent. And any wrestler I like will be misused or will have the brains to ditch.
Yep.
So I'm done. I guess I'll give it a D- because it didn't completely suck.
Right.
I intended on like a somewhat positive-ish note.
Yeah, I really liked the opening match, I think, more than you did, and I liked the main event as well. The Cameron Grimes in-ring promo I liked. I thought he did a good job, and some of the Gacy stuff about the Cruiserweight title. There was less this week that was really, really bad, but it's still not much that was really good either, right? So due to the strength of two matches, I gave this show a C- this week, which is a great mark for NXT 2.0. But that's like a high mark for them, and that's the evidence that that we don't need to keep doing this, right? Like a C- is the best I can hope for, and being annoyed by still like half of the show is not good enough, right? Like I don't need to do that. There's enough options out there for us to find something else to talk about. So I gave it a C-, maybe a bit generous. Still not a good show at all. Nothing anyone really needs to go out and see. I didn't think the main event was good, but other than that. All right, so let's transition into some trivia. And what do we call that? Oh, yeah, off the top of his head. So I kept it simple this week. I'm going to ask you, because it's going to just reveal your memory. We're going into NXT War Games trivia, but really simply, can you name the competitors? And I think you can, but we'll see.
I can.
From each of the 6 NXT War Games matches, and if there was an actual team name, I can use those as hints if you need it. So we're starting with TakeOver War Games 2017. Who competed and who won would be nice as well. Go ahead.
All right, so it was Undisputed Era versus Roderick Strong and AOP versus Sanity. It was Adam Cole, Bobbert, Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Akam, Razor, Eric Young, Alexander Wolf, and Killian Dane. Right. And Undisputed Era won.
Right. So sorry, Alexander Wolf, Eric Young, Killian Dane, and Authors of Pain. Right?
And then Roddy, and then the rest of Undisputed Era, like all of them.
Right, but why isn't one team outnumbered? You're right.
Roddy teams with AOP.
Oh, it was 3 teams, right? Sorry, because I'm looking at it thinking that one was all one team going. There's so many people in that one. Right. You are correct. TakeOver War Games 2018.
It was Ricochet, Pete Dunne, and the War Raiders, or the Viking Raiders, versus Undisputed Era, and the Babyface Team won.
Which is who?
Not Undisputed Era.
Right. TakeOver War Games 2019. There were 2 matches.
Right. Okay, so I'll start with the men's one, because I know that one.
Yep.
It was Ciampa, Keith Lee, Dominic Dijakovic, and Kevin Owens versus Undisputed Era, and the not Undisputed Era won.
Correct.
And then the female one was Ripley.
Yes.
Candice LeRae.
Yes.
Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai.
Correct.
Versus Rhea Ripley. Shayna Baszler.
Yes.
Io Shirai.
Yes.
Kaylee Ray and.
Ooh, we might have.
I just saw this too. Damn it.
Baszler, Shirai, Kaylee Ray, and I forgot about Kaylee Ray.
It was someone good.
Yep. Who's main roster now? I can tell you that much.
Bianca Belair.
Correct. And who won?
The Ripley's team won.
Team Ripley, yes.
Team Ripley, yeah. They won. And that was Kai's heel turn, actually.
That's right. Which was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Final 2, and then I have a bonus
2020?
one. So 2020, there were 2 matches as well, a men's and a women's.
I don't remember. The female one was Team Shotzi versus Team Candice,
Which is who?
Shotzi was her.
Yep.
Was it Ember Moon?
Yep.
Sorry. I don't know.
Shotzi, Ember.
Tegan Nox?
No. Damn. One is still in NXT and one is
Io?
Io's correct and one's main roster.
Ripley?
Yes, very
and
good.
then the heel team was Candice.
Yep.
Tony Storm.
Yes.
Raquel
Yes.
and Dakota.
And winners were?
Team Shotzi.
No.
No, it was Team Raquel. I remember
Yes.
because she powerbombed Io through that ladder.
Right.
And then the men's one was the Kings of NXT,
Which
or
was?
the brand, which is Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Danny Burch, and Oni Lorcan,
right,
versus Undisputed Era, which is Undisputed Era.
And who won?
And Undisputed Era won.
All right.
After losing 2 times.
So because I thought you would know most of those, I didn't know if you'd know everyone. We had to find, because I like to end on a question you don't know. So the bonus question, the final question is, can you tell me who the competitors were in WCW Nitro 2000 Russo's Revenge, the last War Games
How is that
before
fair?
NXT? It's War Games. War Games trivia.
How is that fair?
For the So here's the key. This is interesting. Wrap your head around this. So a War Games match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
How's this fair?
Any idea?
Russo?
He is not in it, no.
DDP?
No.
Kevin Nash.
Yes. So he's
Jeff
the
Jarrett?
captain of one team. Yes, Nash, Jeff Jarrett.
Are the Harris brothers in it?
Yes. Why would you know that? So
because they were in NWO with the silver.
You're only missing one person on that team.
Bret Hart?
No. He has a relative on NXT right now. He has a nephew on NXT right now.
Rikai Shai?
No.
Oh.
A nephew who is prominently placed on the show. Perhaps even the future of NXT, it looks like.
Oh. Rick Steiner? Scott Steiner?
Scott Steiner. Taking on...
Nash, right? I already said Nash.
So it was Nash, Jarrett, Steiner, and the Harris brothers.
Oh.
They
Nash
defeated...
Booker T?
Yes.
Wait. Was it the Misfits in Action? Or no?
No.
Damn.
It was a tag team of 2 big guys who aren't very good.
Chronic?
Yes.
Alright.
A singles guy who still shows up in WWE every now and then.
Goldberg?
Correct. And your favorite guy in AEW.
Sting.
Correct. So I think the way it worked is it was like it was the triple stacked ring.
Oh no,
and
that's not War Games.
They had to get up and retrieve the title and get back through and out the door with it or something like that, if I remember correctly.
That's not War Games, and that's not even logical.
You did very well considering you had no idea of that one.
There's not that many War Games,
because you got Nash, Jarrett, and Harris brothers, which is bizarre.
Oh, I just remember something in NWO, like when Jarrett was leading NWO 2000 or whatever, they had like the silver on the shirts instead of white, and I know he was always with the Harris brothers.
So you know how you like to watch bad stuff and I make fun of you for it? I go back and watch 2099 WCW a lot just because it's like awful, and I use it to fall. Honestly, I fall asleep watching it. I sleep like a baby.
And then the NXT War Games is easy because there's not that many, and a lot of it is Undisputed Era, and I love Undisputed Era, so I was able to easily memorize it.
Yes, I had a feeling you would do very well. I wasn't sure you would get every person every year, which you did, but I figured you'd do well. But anyways, that's going to bring us to the end of our trivia segment, and we'll shift gears, that's better, back into talking about wrestling, and wrestling that we generally enjoy, and that is this week's episode of AEW Dynamite.
So we start with CM Punk coming out because obviously he's scheduled to face QT Marshall in a dream match that we've been waiting for.
Dream match, absolutely.
Right? But he is interrupted by MJF, who comes out. He says Punk hurt his feelings last week, and it's almost as bad as when he took his ball and went home, referring to Punk leaving WWE. He says the pipe bomb was good and everyone loves it. He says that was Punk's best moment, but every MJF moment is MJF's best moment. And he says, unlike Punk, he isn't a one-trick pony. He says he respects Punk and he respects that he's straight edge, even though he looks like a meth addict. He says he doesn't respect how Punk handled the situation. He mentions how Punk never mentioned him of people on the list of people who he wanted to face, even though he's now facing QT Marshall.
Right.
MJF says it was because Punk didn't want none of him. He says Punk has always been a big fish in a small pond, but compared to MJF on the stick, he is a minnow. He says he is going to verbally destroy him faster than his UFC career.
Ooh.
He says Punk can drop pipe bombs all he wants because he is MJF and he drops nukes.
Ooh.
Which I thought that was a nice.
It was.
That one was good. Punk grabs the mic. He says he's disappointed in MJF. He says he thanks MJF for last week. He thought MJF stood for my jealous fan. He says he never brought MJF's name up. He never brought up MJF's name by design because he didn't want to feed his ego. He says he is in MJF's head. Probably has a poster of him. He says he heard so much about the great MJF. I was disappointed because he shut him up without saying anything last week, which is fair.
Yep.
He says MJ thinks he's revolutionary, but he's just a less famous Miz.
Oof, that got a big reaction. There are similarities there, to be honest.
No, I think that's.
I think he's a better version of Miz.
Yeah, and I think that was the immediate comparison, like when he first came around.
Yep, there are some similarities.
MJ says that was solid and creative and almost what he wanted. And he says that phrase encapsulates Punk's EW run, which that's...
Almost what he wanted, yeah.
That's kind of funny.
I don't think anybody's really wrong here on either side of this.
Yeah. He says nostalgia is a drug that causes us to misconstrue memories, and that represents Punk. He says he was a fan of Punk, and Punk was the best, but since Punk's return, he has struggled to beat the easiest competition, say anything of intrigue, and his breath stinks because he has been kissing ass, which...
But that's kind of my thing with his first few promos, right? We're kind of just pandering, meandering.
And he's like facing guys like Hobbs and Garcia.
Right.
Like, who, no offense, but they're just not.
Yep. No, MJF makes points here, right? I think.
He mocks Punk and says Punk has gone soft and his hair is going gray. He says based off Punk's eyes, he is the one who needs to go to sleep. Which I thought that was a really nice line. MJ says this is no longer CM Punk, it's PG Punk. He asks what happened to the guy he grew up on, and Punk might as well be preaching hustle, loyalty, and respect.
Oof, that was nice too.
That is another nice singer.
Yep.
He says the problem is he can see Punk, and he can see through him. He says Punk stayed on his couch for 7 years because he was scared he couldn't hang anymore, and he should be scared. He says Punk used to be looked at as like underutilized, or like he was like the cult icon or whatever, right? Like when he was in WWE, ECW, and whatnot. And now he has all the tools, like he's like famous and whatnot. And he asks if Punk can even hang anymore. MJF says he is everything Punk hates because he was born for this while Punk was a misfit from Chicago. He says Punk had to work his ass off to become who he is, but even though he has given all of this, he has been nothing more than second best, whether it was the You Can't See Me Man or the King of Kings. And he says it'll be no different here. He says Punk may claim to be the best in the world, but he is better than him, and Punk knows it. I thought that was very nice.
Yep.
Punk says there's some truth in what MJF said. He says he is a little scared after coming back. He didn't know if he still had it, but he isn't doubting himself anymore, and he isn't scared of MJF. He says MJF did a song and dance and made on New York Times, and he will make it again, but this time on the obituaries.
Ooh.
He says MJF talks too much like he did, but Punk could back it up, and MJF can't back it up without his backup, which I thought that was kind of funny.
Yep.
And he says the pinnacle is how he gets things done. He says he never mentioned MJF because he went up to the heart and soul of AEW, Darby Allin, and beat him without needing a ring.
Right.
He says MJF talks about the 4 pillars but doesn't realize he's been replaced by Britt Baker.
Nice.
He says MJF talked too much but made a few good points and they wasted the people's time. He asked who number 1 is, and it's not MJF unless they wait around for Tony Khan to have a daughter MJF can marry.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was
nice.
It's
a shot at Triple H, right?
And Punk says last time he gave out ice cream bars and a barricade, this time would be to punch MJF. And then MJF does this thing where he acts like they're going to fight, and then he walks off.
Yeah, I mean, and to put it in context, I'm the guy that complains about a lot of shows that start out with like a 15-minute in-ring promo segment sort of thing. But that being said, like this
when you do it right, you do it right.
Yeah, this was fantastic. A great start to this show. My favorite MJF is when he has a specific target to focus on.
Was it last week they did the Hangman segment, right? So
yes.
That's 2 weeks in a row they've started with the segment.
And he's definitely had something to focus on here. His juvenile insults were good. He also made some good points along the way. His delivery is awesome as usual. And I thought Punk's rebuttal was pretty awesome as well. He's deciding to sort of reply to MJF with like calm condescension, I would say. And that's a good choice because he knows MJF's there to rile you up and make you angry, right? So you can't give him that satisfaction. So Punk just sort of stays in control and says what he needs to say. I didn't really disagree with anything MJF said, despite him being a heel here. I don't know if that's a problem or not, but I don't think he's really wrong about anything.
I think he's that good.
Yeah. And I mean, this probably went on too long for some people. They could have saved a bit of this for the future maybe, but I'm kind of nitpicking. I thought it was a fun way to start the show. I was engaged through a very lengthy promo segment the entire way. And then again, that's not my preference to start a show, but I thought this was, and I think JR said it later, right? This was an excellent professional wrestling segment. And unlike NXT 2.0, it feels realistic. This is a believable conversation between
A realistic argument.
athletes who have ego, right? This people do talk like this, so this is possible, and it was good.
Yeah, I thought this was an awesome start to the show. MJF just firing off zingers and insults like it's nobody's business. And Punk had a few counterlines too, but just felt like MJF was just rolling 5,000 insults off the top of his head. Like, it was awesome. It was an awesome back and forth promo battle. Like last week, this is the right way to start the show with a segment if that's what they're going to do.
Yep.
Like, if they're doing it, they do it right.
Yeah, they're 2 for 2. Because last week you kind of had to coming out of Full Gear, right? You kind of had
but
to.
I think that was still good. And both of the times they're leading into a match.
Yep. So
as we lead into CM Punk versus QT Marshall.
It didn't feel like it was just filling time, right? There was a point to this, and it was good.
No, it was awesome. I think it may have even been better than last week's opening.
Yeah, probably.
And so, yeah, we do go to CM Punk versus QT Marshall. It's CM versus QT.
Nice.
In what was basically a drawn-out enhancement match. I don't know. I feel like that's basically what it was.
I think so.
A distraction from the factory allows QT to take control, but Punk comes back with a trifecta of body slams.
Body slams.
Yes.
Have a drink.
After a chinlock by Punk, more attempted interference from the factory gets them ejected. After, like, it was weird. Punk was, like, near the ropes, or I can't remember if he was bouncing off the ropes, but then Komuro just holds his foot.
Yeah.
Like, and nothing happens.
So they get all thrown out.
Yeah. Punk ducks a clothesline, hits another body slam, which was so awesome. It was just insane.
I thought the first few minutes of this were kind of just ordinary, but anyways.
Yeah, a rope around back elbow by Punk. Crowd count punches in the corner by Punk, followed by a hammer throw to the opposite corner. QT's in control with methodical offense until Punk sends him into the corner and hits a back body drop off of the impact, and then a running flying clothesline off the apron after QT had rolled out of the ring. A pop-up forearm and a sit-up powerbomb for 2 by QT after the commercial break.
Powerbomb looked sweet.
Yeah, that was a solid little combo.
Gotta give him credit.
Right hands and a single leg dropkick by Punk. And then he hits the corner running high knee, followed by short arm lariat by Punk. But now that I've seen it a lot, Nick Jackson does it way better.
He does.
Elbow drop from the top rope by Punk, kind of the Macho Man esque elbow. He does the top, but I feel like he doesn't do the elbow quite like Macho Man.
Nobody does. Except maybe Kairi Sane.
Jay Lethal.
Hers is nice. Yeah, whatever.
Black Machismo.
I'm aware, but he didn't do it as well.
Punk ends it with a DTS.
Yeah, again, really basic stuff for too long. Basic stuff to start, and then I thought the match itself was too long. Punk should beat QT Marshall in like 4 minutes, right? It seems odd to me that Punk would be in a 20-minute promo battle where he tries to put himself over as great on the mic and in the ring, only then to struggle to defeat QT Marshall for a little while.
Point,
right? Sometimes I feel like AEW, I mean, I love the company and almost everything they do, but they worry too much about keeping people looking strong sometimes, I think.
Especially when it's like, I remember you had that complaint about that Alan Angels match,
yes.
right? But the difference was I feel like that was at least his debut,
yeah.
and that was them showcasing him. This is QT Marshall. I don't think anyone really cares if he just gets his ass kicked.
Right, and the finishing sequence I thought was good, but the rest of Punk's offense was nothing special, so I don't know, I thought this was okay. It didn't do much for me.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I haven't seen QT in a while, which I'm okay with, and he looks solid here, but he just isn't that interesting. Punk looked fine here too, but a lot of the offense early on, like you said, was just nah.
Yep, 4 body slams and
right.
nothing
he got a
crazy.
decent win. The opening segment was far better. And then we come to a Christian Cage and Jurassic Express interview. Cage says they have a ton of momentum, and they feel unbeatable. He says when you feel this way, good things happen because you have momentum.
Mm-hmm.
And Jurassic Express are ranked number 1 now from their momentum. Which, I mean, they're going to have to wait till the number 5 ranked guys.
Yes, lose a couple matches.
Lose the titles, but yeah. Or lose the title match. So I'm not sure who is ranked number 5, but they'll get a title shot first.
This felt like, I don't know why, maybe it was the talk of momentum. It felt like WWE Christian Cage talking here, and I find that he reverts to that style off and on. So it's not my favorite. I didn't think this was bad necessarily, but it didn't do anything for me either, really.
Yeah, and then like the last time was like they've been in the spot before, but now they have the momentum and the confidence, and he will make sure they will
That's
win.
very WWE.
Right. This felt too WWE with all the talk of momentum and whatnot. And the thing he said at the end sounded like a threat towards my boy Penta. He's starting to ensure that he takes the titles from Penta. Like he's trying to take the title from Penta.
Yeah,
That is
everyone's trying to take titles from
disrespectful.
everyone. That's how it works.
Yeah, but Christian Cage,
Mhm.
is vowing to make Penta lose his title.
He is.
That is disrespectful. It's like, if someone else does it, I don't care. If FTR try to do that, I don't care. But Christian Cage,
Okay.
that's not. It's not even like Jungle Boy should be saying that, not Christian Cage.
He speaks for them.
He's not in the match.
Because Luchasaurus just growls and Jungle Boy can't really talk, so...
Christian Cage needs to go away. Next we get Eddie Kingston. He's sitting and catering or something.
Yes,
I think.
he was eating.
Right, he says he misses Mox, wishes him a happy Thanksgiving until he's cut off by 2.0. Matt Lee says things got out of hand last week, talks about how Kingston isn't hungry anymore. Parker says they're here to help, and as Kingston gets heated, Garcia throws drink at him, I think coffee maybe, and then the officials have to separate them.
Yep. I thought it was a fine little segment. There were a couple small things that Eddie did that I really liked while 2.0 were talking. One was he adjusted the grip on his fork to hold it like you would if you were going to stab somebody, which I thought was a really cool subtle thing. And then I also liked that he just kept staring at Garcia even while the others were talking, right? Because Garcia is the guy he's going to have a match with. So it's never my favorite idea to have Eddie Kingston in a segment and not have him talk very much, but it kind of feels like a missed opportunity. But I thought this was fine. I mean, I like the role that 2.0 are in right now, so I thought this was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I enjoyed Kingston here again. I liked how he got mad the second they made a remark about Mox.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a nice touch. And then, keep your socks on,
The match
folks.
nobody asked
Stay
for.
in your seats. What the match that everybody has been asking for, the Gun Club versus Bear Country.
Right.
And
It's a
numerous
bad
times-
combination. Guns and bears or hunting bears. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't
I'm
even
worried.
think of that. That's why they're having the match.
Built-in story right there, brother.
I a couple of times I forgot the R, then I actually type. I was telling you
Bear County?
Yeah, Bear County.
That's right.
Which is funny because that county is so much lower than a country.
Yeah, they're low card, so they're county. They got to earn that Y when they get to a
R?
main event spot. Sorry, the R,
Yes.
yeah. That's how letters
so
work.
a couple things to note, before the match, no entrance for Bear Country, and the Gun Club theme sucks. And I think it should be Billy at ringside. I don't know why both of his sons aren't wrestling, because it is Billy and Colton Gunn
Right.
representing, and then Austin Gunn is at ringside. I think it should be Austin and Colton, and Billy can keep his old ass at ringside.
That's more thought than I'm willing to put into Gun Club already.
Yeah. And so I can only describe this as a monstrous rematch of extremely epic proportions.
Yep.
There will be a lot of sarcasm here.
Open the match of the year document.
I actually did prepare a big sarcasm-filled
Go
opinion
ahead.
after the match. Cheap attack by Gun Club pre-match. Bear Country take control. Austin saves Billy from an attack on the outside, and then Colton shoves Bear Boulder in the ring steps. It not only does it look really slow, but it was the most blatant, he shoves the stairs.
Right.
He didn't shove him super far, but you could tell that's what
It's
he did.
one of those where you get your body against the stairs and then you shove, right? Rather
Right.
than you crashed into the stairs.
Right. A delayed backdrop by Bear Bronson. Remember that? Almost could have ended badly.
Yes, he almost looked like he didn't rotate enough and could have broken
Right.
something, but it worked out.
A cheap shot trip by Austin Gunn, and then Colton Gunn hits the Colt 45, which is just like a spinning double underhook suplex or something,
Yeah,
which
basically.
is lame. Looked like an NXT 2.0 finisher. Then after the match, Sting and Darby come out and chase out the Gun Club, despite Gun Club being 3 people. But I understand, Sting is an old guy who paints his face, so he must be very scary.
Terrifying. I guess this match, right, is to establish Gun Club as quote-unquote legitimate, and to move to further the story,
And to remind us that they did, in fact, turn heel.
Yeah, and it's to move the story on more than the match, I guess. But it felt like this was a dark or elevation match, and that's not what I want on Dynamite, regardless of what they're trying to do with it. So not only that, the aftermath wasn't anything special either. And Allen going from an incredible match of the year caliber singles match with MJF to feuding with a lower, very low card tag team feels disappointing for him, right?
Yeah.
I could have easily done without this match and this story at all, to be honest.
Okay, you glossed over a lot, but what an incredible match this was. It may have taken up over half of the show, but it was time well spent. There was no move left undone. They traded some epic tag finishes back and forth, and I would just like to mention, I had no idea Billy Gunn could do the back arrow, and I think he did it better. The super electric chair double flip destroyer by the Gun Club was stunning as well, and a great finish. Bear Country put up a tough fight, however, and had some insane power moves as well, lifting up the Gun Club with their pinkies, so that was pretty cool as well. But on a serious note, this was 2 bottom-of-the-division teams having a match with runtime that wouldn't look out of place on NXT 2.0, and the aftermath was fine and uninteresting. And
Very
this is not great.
forgettable stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. This feels like something they would do on NXT 2.0. Random tag match between two teams you don't care about.
This was a dark match, let's be honest.
Yeah,
they probably
it
have
was.
faced on dark before, I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
don't even think this deserves to be on dark. I think
Wow.
this doesn't need to exist. Next we get an Adam Cole and Bobby Fish promo. Yes. Them together. Yeah. Cole says the past couple weeks have sucked, and he recounts their losses. And then Cole says they're practically family, and they get interrupted by Chuck Taylor. Because there's this thing going through the show, like Friendsgiving or something.
Yeah, I don't think it was that clearly defined. But...
I don't know. Chuck Taylor and best friends interrupt and says they're literally called the best friends. Cole roasts each member of them and says that they think they're better friends than him and Bobby. They are kidding themselves, and there's a stare down between Cole and Bobby, and then Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta.
Right. So I don't know. The best friends inclusion seemed kind of forced and random, but I guess it's giving both of these groups, partnerships, whatever, something to do. I did like the Cole, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it feels like Cole's really sucking up to Bobby Fish right now because the Young Bucks are still out and not cleared, right? So Cole needs somebody with him to have his back, and it's... So in my mind,
and they are former friends, right? So.
Yeah, in my mind, this is still he's using Bobby Fish until Bobby Fish gets sick of it, and then Kyle O'Reilly comes up. So I'm still sort of booking that in my mind.
Yeah, I really want O'Reilly in right now, whether like it's an Undisputed Era formation or a Red Dragon versus Bucks. Yes. Like Red Dragon Bucks. I'm happy with either.
Right, so I'm still sort of interpreting it all because that's what I'm hoping is happening. So it feels like Cole is like, because this was extra, like we're like family, we're not just friends. So it's like. Although he needs somebody to be there while the Bucks aren't, and then when the Bucks come back, I'm sure he can start treating Fish like he doesn't really need him anymore, right?
I would like Undisputed Era to kind of like take the Elite spot though as like the heel faction, because I feel like the Elite, they've been heels for a while.
I don't think they need to put the Elite together at all. I think that's too much of a doing NXT stuff.
What?
Like go somewhere else. I don't want, put Undisputed Era together at all.
Nah, they should do that.
Because I don't think you need to be building factions that were built somewhere else.
Yeah, but you make them better.
Except maybe if you bring in Hit Row, I might be open to it, but I don't feel like Hit Row's an AEW kind of act. More. Anyways.
That makes no sense.
Carry on.
Next we get Dante Martin's Team Taz contract thing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Talk about it first.
Taz says it's a golden opportunity and he is either in or out, which that is technically how this works. He is either in or out. He says to Leo, this is simply business. Rush says it's business they don't want a part of, but Dante stops him and signs the contract and hops over the table and leaves with Team Taz as they are elated.
So I didn't get this at all. Like, I don't get how... So, if Dante's willing to even sit down in a room with them and entertain a formal contract signing, I don't feel like anything should be shocking then, right? But I don't see in the build, he didn't seem like he was willing to get to this point even, where he was going to actually sit down with them and listen to a formal offer. So that kind of came out of the blue. I don't understand what this means for Leo Rush and the tag team he had with Dante Martin, which I missed. Really enjoying.
Because they had I think they only had 2 matches on Dynamite, but both of them were great.
I thought this was a really strange turn for this story to take. I don't quite understand what they're doing or why. It seems... I don't know, the context isn't there for this. I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and see where they go, because it does open up a whole bunch of possibilities, because now it seemed like Leo Rush was clearly a heel, but now is he? And it seemed like Dante Martin was clearly a face, but he's abandoning the heel and joining another heel group, right? So it was like he was reluctantly a heel with Leo. He was reluctantly a heel with Leo Rush for weeks. Now he's embracing heelness and joining a heel faction. And Leo Rush is now turned babyface because of it? Like, I don't understand. I didn't love this, but it all depends on where they go with it, so I'll say that at least.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It was, super short and really quick. I was surprised. It was. There was no, negotiation process or anything.
Here's the paper, sign it. And he goes, okay, and he signs. It's like Dwight Schrute. You will sign the paper in 10, 9, right?
I find it interesting how he stopped Rush from speaking and then signed it, so that's... I hope they at least explain this more.
Me too.
Although I'm just... kind of disappointed that team is over already.
Yeah, I was just a little bit confused by this, but hopefully it makes sense later.
And then next we come to Thunder Rosa versus Jamie Hayter in the TBS Championship Tournament quarterfinals.
Yep. One thing I noticed here, JR, as they're doing entrances or whatever for this match, he's still talking about the previous segment, and he says, talking about Dante Martin signing, says, I thought that kid would wait a little longer. And I'm like, I agree. I feel like JR was kind of, you know how he can't help himself, but by saying the refs are missing stuff or whatever, this is broken down. I feel like he couldn't stop himself by saying, like, this story skipped a few stops along the way somewhere, right? And I kind of agree with him.
Yeah.
Not that I want to agree with JR too much anymore, but I do on that one.
Yeah, it was like just blink and you'll miss it.
Yep.
And so this was it was a solid and pretty competitive TV match, I guess, if I'm gonna say anything about it. Notables, I would say there was like an aggressive collar and elbow tie up and like kind of a back and forth right off the bat. Hater face palms Rosa and then receives a slap in return. Rosa reverses an Irish whip on the outside and sends Hater into the barricade. Rosa unleashes body shots to back Hater against the ropes and continues until she has to obviously back off for the disqualification count.
Mm-hmm.
Rope rebound, back elbow by Hater. Suplex on the outside by Rosa. Hater is able to catch a dive from the apron by Rosa and rams her into the ring post. Rosa avoids a superplex and hits a top rope shotgun dropkick. A corner clothesline by Rosa, followed by a slingshot double knees to a seated Hater, and a running basement shotgun dropkick still in the corner for 2. A strike exchange, and then Rosa locks in a submission, but Reba distracts the ref. Baker interferes and tries to superkick Rosa, but who ducks, and then it hits Hater instead. And Rosa takes up Baker and Reba and rolls up Hater with a victory roll for the win.
Yeah, I ended up actually quite liking this match, I think more than you did. I found at the beginning there wasn't much wrestling going on. It was brawling, but that's okay. Then sort of Thunder Rosa got in control and things picked up. She's just really fun to watch, right? The crowd really loves her and they kind of got into the match. I thought Hater looked good targeting Rosa's back and also taking Thunder Rosa's offense. I thought it was the best that Hater has looked so far, and maybe that's credit to Thunder Rosa a little bit there too. But I ended up enjoying this match, and I think Thunder Rosa is just really fun to watch. And I thought this was a better match than I was expecting, and that Hater looked better than I've seen her. So I like this match, actually. And I guess I don't know how I feel about, are they teasing like issues within Britt's little group, I guess. That has to happen at some point. I'm just glad it's not Rebel. I think Rebel and Britt should be a package deal for the whole time. So we'll see where it goes with Hater from here.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It wasn't bad or anything, but didn't really interest me to begin with, so I was never super into it. I guess it's kind of like maybe a precursor to
It's definitely
Baker
not like the result was ever in doubt,
Baker
right?
and Rosa. Yeah, that also doesn't help, like when it's like just a kind of meh match and then you know who's going to win. There's decent action, but there's nothing super notable or super interesting.
Right.
So I thought it was fine.
I liked it.
Chris Jericho interview for some reason, because we've been lost without him, I guess.
For
right?
sure.
He gets cut off by 2.0 Garcia almost immediately. He says instead of bragging about throwing coffee at Kingston, they should buy equipment and lock down their houses to protect themselves. He says Matt Lee has a square head and goes on for that way too long.
Yep.
He says if they ever interrupt him again, he'll knock their teeth down their throats, probably with Floyd. And Parker says, with all respect, for Jericho to shut his mouth.
Yeah, I don't know. I've found Jericho kind of not very funny and kind of lame lately. His stuff just seems like less clever and a little bit lazy. Like he's not putting much time into it. He's just kind of going, I'll just figure it out once I get there kind of thing. And I don't think he's doing a great job. But I do like, again, I like the role that 2.0 and Garcia are playing at this point. Just like the low card annoying heels, right? That provide people matches and wins and things. You got to have that. And I think 2.0 are pretty perfect in that role. But I don't know. I'm finding Jericho harder and harder to take, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like this because I feel like they're already kind of occupied with Kingston, and this is just super random. Like, It doesn't really... I don't see Jericho getting into a program with these guys, so it doesn't really, like, do anything.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. It felt kind of, a little bit random.
And then we have a weird Britt Baker Thanksgiving thing with Reba and Tony for some reason. She says she is thankful for giving them the best Thanksgiving ever. She says she apologizes if Rosa wins the TBS title because then it'll be doomed forever. And she says she's thankful she is still AEW Women's Champion. And Tony reveals that Riho is never eliminated from the Casino Battle Royal. Seems a little late to mention
and
that.
Weird time to do that too, right? I don't know.
She will face Baker on Rampage Black Friday in a Black Friday deal match. If Riho wins, she gets a title shot, which she did actually. So
yeah, she won.
Riho gets a title shot. Yay!
So was the idea that this was like people didn't show up to Britt's Thanksgiving dinner thing? Like I didn't quite understand.
I think it was Friendsgiving.
Right. So again, what's going on with that?
I don't know.
It was unclear to me.
This is basically the same thing they do with Abaddon for Halloween. It's just
I didn't love this.
different.
I thought Britt was funny at the very end of it, but the rest was not her best work. And just the whole setup of like, this is the time where Tony decides to talk about Riho not being I don't know.
Like months later.
And the fact that they're sitting at like a full table setting for Thanksgiving dinner just felt a bit like WWE, and I didn't care for it. So there were some things on this show I thought were not as solid as usual. This would be one of them.
Yeah, it was fine. I guess it's just another match to keep Baker busy.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I just thought the segment itself was lacking.
Next we get Bryan Danielson versus hometown boy Colt Cabana. Boom, boom.
Boom, boom.
In a short but well-worked enhancement match, I thought. Notables, there was some back-and-forth wrestling work from the get-go until Bryan attempts an armbar, but Cabana gets a rope break, and then there's a cheap shot after the break, of course, from Bryan. Holds and counters, and Bryan starts kicking at the hamstring with Cabana on his back, and then some corner chops. Repeat kicks the torso by Bryan, like he kicks him in the chest, and he kicks him kind of in the shoulder, then he kicks him in the back. Also, like those, just like the yes kicks.
Yeah.
That kind of kick. I'm not sure what the technical name for those are. A pair of uppercuts follows from Bryan. The classic like bunch of jabs and the hand thing and the bionic elbow by Cabana. Bryan avoids a flying apple in the corner, hits a released German suplex, and then a running corner dropkick in the opposite corner. Then some corner kicks and chops. Cabana punches Bryan off of an avalanche back suplex attempt and then follows the moonsault for 2, which is one of the cool things he can do. Repeated short arm bionic elbows by Cabana, but Bryan heel trips him and then hits those stomps with the wrist traps. And a nice move, actually, he rolls through into the label lock for the win. So
right.
I don't know if he's actually used that yet, because that's like his signature submission.
I don't think he has.
So that finally getting some use out of that signature move. And then after the match, he has a quick in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone. He says when he debuted in Chicago, you got a much different reaction. You wonder if it's him or the fans. He says he would describe it as fickle, and he is not fickle, kind of like implying the fans. I thought that was actually kind of a fun callback to eco-friendly Daniel Bryan. Because I remember that was like one of his main things, that the fans are fickle and like the whole with the whole eco-friendly stuff. So I thought that was a kind of an
his whole like it's not that I've changed, it's that you've changed, right? Sort of thing.
So I kind of like that. He said he would kick Cabana's head in, and he also kicked his tooth out. He says he hears there are a few Dark Order members from Atlanta, and he'll face any of them kick their head in. I like that kind of tangent. I wonder if they would have had to plan like this with their show schedule, because I feel like it's
probably right.
So I mean that's
they
good.
do plan ahead, right? Unlike some other companies that are changing the script day of, this company seems to book things.
He says this all leads to Hangman Page, who comes out almost immediately after getting name dropped, like
he was waiting.
Seconds,
yep,
I would say. Hangman says Bryan made his point with Cabana, and that will be the last. He says Chicago's very special to him. He can't think of a better spot to defend the title. And Bryan says, of course, Hangman wanted to do it after he just wrestled a match.
Great point.
And
Love
Hangman
that.
says he doesn't care. He doesn't have to defend it, but he won't leave without a fight. And since Bryan just wrestled, he'll give him the first shot. Bryan tells him not to insult him like that and then slaps him anyways. A brief brawl breaks out, and Bryan flees the ring when in danger of a buckshot lariat a la Kenny Omega.
Right. Match-wise, I thought Danielson looked really aggressive, and Cabana did a good job of taking a beating, I thought, for the most part, right? And that match was all it needed to be, and for once, they didn't give the lesser talent, no offense to Colt Cabana, but I think that's fair.
Is fair.
They didn't give the lesser talent a ton of time on offense, right? This kept Bryan looking strong, and Colt doesn't need to look strong. So he got in a little bit of stuff, but not a ton, and this was kept kind of short. The aftermath, I really liked the interaction between Page and Danielson. Danielson twisting, I thought was brilliant. Twisting Page's challenge, right? To be cowardly. Instead of him looking brave because, yeah, I'm ready to fight you anytime. Like, let's fight right now.
Right, because that was like the whole Bryan's whole thing last week was that like, we should do it right now, but you're not in wrestling gear,
right?
And, which is cool because Page did come out in ring gear.
You're
actually
trying to act tough, but you're actually a coward because you want to fight me after I just had a match.
I mean,
right?
It was against Colt Cabana, but he can leave that part out.
So then I thought the brief brawl and even the retreat by Danielson worked really well here. I thought it was a good segment, and it does help build the match a little bit, and it just more clearly defines Danielson as a heel, right? Which I'm enjoying so far.
Yeah, me too.
He can't miss for me right now.
Yeah. I thought it was a great little match because they worked exactly like they should have. I think Cabana got an appropriate amount of offense, and Bryan got to look strong and get another victory.
Agree.
I don't know which Dark Order members are from Atlanta, but I hope one of them is John Silver, because Stu Grayson's Canadian, right?
He sure is.
Damn it! How's he gonna face Stu Grayson?
I don't know.
I hear there's another bald member of the Dark Order. Boom. Segue.
Nice.
That could apply to 5 too. No, it should be Stu Grayson. The aftermath was pretty good too. Bryan's doing great in this new role. The brawl was well done too, as they didn't have it last too long. It was like a very small taste of the match.
I agree.
And
That's
then
what didn't bother me at all.
I also like them saving the buckshot for the big moments or
like
matches.
They just barely touched here, right? Which they're baby stepping to them not touching at all to now like one slap basically escape the finisher, and then we can get to the match. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it.
Next we get, for some reason, another Ruby Soho Chris Statlander promo package.
Third one?
Yes.
Right?
Which
For a tournament match?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Soho says there's a long list of people she wanted to face when she came to AEW, and Statlander was at the top. Yeah, I'm sure Statlander was at the top. Yeah.
She was a top contender.
She is, but like I don't know. I feel like there's maybe Britt Baker. I guess she already faced Britt Baker, but whatever. Statlander said she will win and become the first TBS champion and be your leader, which I don't understand that part. Like the whole be your leader thing. I guess because she'd be champion, but
that's all.
She's not even main champion, so that doesn't even check out either. Soho said she'll prove to everyone she is the best, and she has to beat the best to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they? I almost feel like AEW knows these two have chemistry, and it's going to be amazing because they certainly are putting. I mean, it's not like any of these vignettes are really long, but it's been 3 of them for a tournament match, right? So I don't know if they really are trying to get both these women over, which I'm totally fine with because I like both of them. But this match has to deliver now, I think, right? Like they're sort of raising expectations for this, for me at least. So I hope it's good.
Yeah, that's a fair thing to say. I guess it must be good because I don't think a tournament match warrants 3 separate video packages. But
they they have something in mind, right? I don't know.
Like,
but anyways,
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Twist or something.
I thought the packages have been fine, so hopefully the match delivers.
So then we come to our main event, which is Cody Rhodes and the Death Triangle versus Malachi Black, Andrade El Idol, and FTR in a frenzied multi-man 8-man tag. And at one point Andrade just I think it was after commercial break, I thought he would rip the pants off like Angel Garza, but he is wearing trunks now.
Yeah, because we don't get picture-in-picture when they say we do. Very rarely now, actually. It's been consistently not when they go out of their way to tell us we're getting it. We don't get it. Right. I don't know if it's just Canada or whatever, but we're not getting picture-in-picture.
Mm-hmm. But for, you have a all-star roster in this match.
Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with these 8, right?
Collar and elbow tie between Cody and Dax. Argument after the break. Shoulder tackle by Cody, and then shortly after shoulder tackle by Dax. More back and forth. Drop down uppercut and power slam by Cody. And Cody throws his weight belt to the crowd, and shortly after, it does get thrown back in the ring. As Pac
the crowd chants throw it back.
Change attacks. That was funny. And he has to put it back on after, which I thought was awesome.
Well, because it was weird. It got thrown back, then Andrade went and shoved it under the ring, and then somehow...
After it got thrown back,
it came back again, and then Cody put it on again.
I don't know,
so I don't know
I think it's
how it got out from under the ring, but it did.
A back suplex by Dax. Cash shows off after holds and counters and needs a boot from Pac and a body slam. Chop exchange between Penta and Cash, kind of knife edge chop versus, Penta does the overhand chops usually.
Yes.
A rope step Hurricane Rana and a drop kick by Phoenix on Andrade. Triple roundhouse and then a triple basement drop kick by Death Triangle, which is pretty nice. As the Death Triangle argue with the ref, she's kind of occupied with them. The heels just all pound on Cody in their corner, which I thought was awesome because FTR always do that.
Yes.
So I think it's pretty nice adding Andrade and Black in there.
And can we just say that Cash's hair looked...
it wasn't great. At least the one shot we got.
It looks incredible, but in a way that I think he's going for, right? It's supposed to. It's a kind of like a fluffy mullet, and the way it flows when he's moving looks ridiculous. Yeah. But I think it's working for him.
Phoenix just all I wrote was Phoenix does a lot of cool stuff.
My goodness,
rapid corner strikes by Black on Phoenix, just speedy. Phoenix ducks a 619 from Cash, which was stupid because he showed 619.
Yeah, announced it.
And hits a rope rebound heel kick, that signature move of his, which I think it's always nice.
Yep.
I love that. Corner float over backstabber to Andrade by Penta to hot tag, one of his signature moves. Andrade kind of flips off of it after in the cell, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Pac takes to everybody, and then we get one of those moments where everyone hits something on someone else.
It was awesome.
Yes, it was awesome. Pac avoids a corner double knees by Andrade, hits just a very quick and impactful belly to belly in the turnbuckles.
Yeah, it looked crazy.
Arn and Tully stare off for some reason, then both hit Jose, and then they kind of leave for some reason. Or after FTR and Tully corner Arn and Lucha Bros take out FTR. Lucha Bros dives to FTR. Pac goes for the Black Arrow, but gets misted by Malachi Black. And Andrade falls with the Hammerlock DDT to pick up the win.
Yeah, super entertaining match. I thought Phoenix really stood out here. That guy is crazy, and the fact that he doesn't ever really screw up anything when he does everything so quickly and so much high risk stuff that nobody else is really doing, he is amazing. This was just 8 major talents, right? Getting a bunch of time in a main event, and they delivered. I think that insane flurry near the end was just cool. And I know that's going to bother some people, right? Because that's the referee losing control and whatever, but I don't care. That was just really fun action. I think you agree with me. I don't think they needed the part with the managers getting in the ring.
Yeah, something just fell.
Yeah, and broke all over the floor. Awesome. But yeah, I don't think that was really necessary. It felt like they tried to throw in a little bit of comedy with Jose getting in there
Yeah,
with
I
them.
don't think that's like
It felt a bit out of
it
place.
felt super out of place, I
But
think.
other than that, I thought that this was an excellent match and a really good main event. Like, how could it not be? It
Yeah,
delivered
it
for
was
me.
awesome.
I enjoyed it.
This is a great main event. It makes me miss the days where we got an awesome multi-man tag on a near weekly basis.
Usually in the opener, right?
Right. Or like somewhere around that. I think it was only last year, but it feels like a while ago. That was an awesome time.
It
I remember
was.
they would just have like some sort of
Be
crazy
like a
tag match
6-man
every
tag
week.
to start, and they were
Right,
always
or like
crazy.
even when they did like a 12-man tag,
Yep.
it was still good. Like they had a gift for that. But it's good to know they still know what they're doing because I feel like we don't get them as often now. But
Which is
this
why
one
we
was
need
so
trios
awesome.
belts in this company. 100%. And I'm not a more belt guy. I want trios titles.
Yeah, that even like that one's cool because it creates like such a different division. Not a lot of places have them. Like the only one I can think of is ROH,
Right.
who's basically shutting down.
And they never really show them. They're almost never
It's
on
what
TV
Shane
or
Taylor
anything.
Promotions,
Yes.
and then sometimes combinations of random guys, right?
Right.
Not only were there some great spots and sequences, but it just helped that they have a great group to work with here. Everyone's match can go in the ring, and they all mesh well together. It was just a great ending to the show.
Yeah. So I guess we're into overall thoughts. I thought this was a good but not great episode of Dynamite. There were not as many things that I usually get excited by many things on the show. It wasn't the case here. I thought the main event was excellent, but in ring wise, there was really nothing else that was a standout. Right? I did enjoy like the Jamie Hayter Thunder Rosa and the Danielson Cabana match for what they were, but they weren't amazing matches by Dynamite standards for sure. Right? So I thought it was below average in ring. I also thought it was below average show segment wise. That being said, the fantastic, really lengthy opening segment brings up the average for sure. And I enjoyed Danielson and Page's interaction, but nothing else really stood out to me. Like the Britt Baker one, I liked less than usual. The Eddie Kingston, I liked less than usual. So I thought it was a below average show. I gave it a B overall, which is pretty low for a Dynamite. I thought it was still enjoyable. Like I didn't feel like it was a chore to watch, but I thought it was like a tier or a tier and a half below really strong episodes. Like Dynamite for me lately has been getting like A minus, A minus, A minus. So this is clearly a step down from that for sure. But I still thought it was a good show. Still like light years ahead of NXT 2.0. So good but not great show.
Right. I thought it was pretty enjoyable as well. I thought the beginning segment was awesome. The main event was great as well. And I think like the other matches, like Hater Rosa was fine, I guess. And I think Cabana Danielson's pretty good. There's a lot of like short segments. I thought none of them were like that bad. I think some of them are weird, like the Baker one or Jericho's. And the best may have been Kingston's if I had to pick out of those short segments.
Yeah.
The only messed up on the show is the utter randomness of Gun Club versus Bear Country.
Yep.
So I'd rate it a little higher. I might go with the B plus.
Nice. All right, well, that's going to bring us into our next segment where we talk about other wrestling things in what we like to call any other wrestling business. All right, so we're going to switch it up a little bit for any other wrestling business, and that is due to Impact Wrestling, which is usually what we cover here first. They decided to try and torture me, I guess, and I'm just not falling for it because this week's episode was a 2-hour Wrestlehouse 2 special. No, not doing it. So we watched. I
You're
actually
gonna be
waited
behind
for
next week.
I maybe. Oh, geez, how will I ever catch up on these riveting storylines? But so we watched what, maybe 10 minutes of it because I
Yep.
put it on with you just as a joke. So I can tell you, it started out with Father James Mitchell doing a poem, right? Voiceover a poem summarizing all of Wrestlehouse 1, since that's so key. We needed to have that. And then we watched the beginning of the current one. I don't know, any takeaways? Like Rosemary seems to be in charge,
Chris
obviously.
Sabin is hot now, I
Chris
guess.
Sabin is the sexy guy coming out of the shower in a towel, I guess. I don't know. I gave it about 10 minutes and I just couldn't do it. And then I'd like, because it recorded, so I skipped ahead on my recording to make sure that in fact the entire episode was Wrestlehouse. So I'm not doing that. So what we decided to do, and I'll come back to Impact next week. What we've decided to
And
do,
Mom got to see it.
because we didn't get around to it, is we're going to talk about Survivor Series. I know it's about a week removed now, but we thought we would replace talking about Impact Wrestling, talking about Survivor Series 2021. So that's what we're going to do here. Did you open the document I shared with you?
I will do that now.
So one of my things is telling Jack, like, open up our worst of the year document because I feel like this show is likely to make an appearance there. This show, not to just to set it up, I guess, made me kind of angry. It was, for me, in a nutshell, okay in-ring work, and then...
It's like, I really find it difficult, like, and it'll show here, to say anything that, like, super positive
beyond,
about,
like, it was fine.
about the matches, because, like, this isn't wrestling, and I don't like it.
It didn't, none of this mattered, right?
And yeah, that's worse too. Like, they coupled their crappy wrestling style, which I hate now,
Yep.
because I watch AEW on a weekly basis now. I never get to watch this, so it makes it worse. And they coupled with the fact that none of these matches matter.
Right. So just in my notes leading up to it, this is likely one of the worst builds to a recent pay-per-view that I can remember.
Right. They even half-assed it by Survivor Series standards.
And I don't even watch main roster, but I read and listen to a ton of stuff where pretty much everything I saw was basically like, they're just throwing this together. They're changing the teams.
They're too focused on Saudi Arabia.
Tony Storm was added late on Twitter, and apparently they didn't even update the graphic on the show 2 days before this was happening. Nakamura and Damian Priest had zero interaction before their match was set up and thrown together right. And again, so this is sold to us as a battle of brand supremacy, and I don't know if you remember this. Actually, I'll get into that later. But sorry, a battle for brand supremacy when most of the members of these teams, right, switched brands.
Yeah,
like,
I
weeks
think I
ago.
mentioned it. I think it was Team SmackDown, perhaps, like men's.
Yeah.
That, like, everybody had just moved brands on that team.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure, or like something like that. And like, some of these people really don't like each other. Which, I mean, sometimes they actually did mention that, like, can they coexist? But it's just stupid.
So going into this pay-per-view, there's really little build to any matches aside from, I would say, Lynch, Flair, and a little bit of Big E and Reigns
I think
build.
Lynch Flair, though, that I don't even know if you can count that, because they already have so much history. They can just, like, go say, like, hey, they've had a lot of history and claim that's a build.
Well, and apparently they're really fighting backstage, right, and stuff, and I think a lot of fans know about that. So there's no stakes involved in any of these matches. You have champion versus champion for nothing. You have teams versus teams for nothing. So I came into the show not expecting much, but that sometimes can mean it'll over-deliver, right? In fact, I told you this for maybe, have I ever in your life, knowing me, have I ever been like, I'm okay if we don't watch this pay-per-view? Because I think this was the first time I've ever done that, right?
At least the
You've
first
known
time.
me a
At
while,
least the first time in a long time.
right? That I've been like, I don't care if we see this one because it looked so unappealing to me.
It does, yes.
But anyways, it's a clear signal to me that WWE no longer cares about pay-per-views, right? The money for them is not in pay-per-view buys or even in network anymore subscriptions. The money's in their TV contracts, and they've already got that. So they don't really care about anything else, and that is clear. They don't care if we watch. They don't care if we like it, because they've got their money, right? Their record profits, firing a whole bunch of people, low ratings, record profits. So what is their motivation to care? But anyways, let's get into this. So the pre-show, I don't think you watched it, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry that you had to watch it because it was amazing, right? So Rick Boogs comes out with his guitar and...
You mean Rick Boogs.
Right. And introduces Shinsuke Nakamura, obviously. So we get holds and counters to start, and basically the running theme through this was that Boogs would start playing his guitar.
And that, like, just distracts Priest and hypes up Nakamura.
And gets McAfee dancing, generally, in the background.
And it reminded me of, remember at Extreme Rules when Balor pumped up?
Yes. So Nakamura at one point is mocking Priest by, like, doing the archery miming thing. Then we get more guitar, and Nakamura does the good vibrations kick in the corner to the guitar playing. We get an early chin lock by Priest. The crowd is dead for this. We get more guitar playing to distract Priest, because I know, most professional athletes are distracted by music being played beside them. Happens all the time. NBA players just stop playing when there's music playing.
And it's not like these ones enter to music.
No. We get strikes, kicks, sliding German suplex by Nakamura. He comes off the ropes into a spinning heel kick to shift the momentum. Kicks and strikes. Priest tosses Nakamura before a back elbow and a clothesline. We get the broken arrow by Priest for a near fall. They dodge each other's kicks until Nakamura lands one. Then we get the Kinshasa countered into the south of heaven by Priest for a 2 count.
That's like the sit-out. I think that's a solid name for it.
Yeah, I like it. Clothesline countered into an armbar by Nakamura. Countered into a Priest submission. Nakamura is out, but the playing guitar starts, and Priest releases the hold, obviously, as you would, to go smash the guitar and then hit Rick Boogs with it. So Nakamura comes out of the ring to help Boogs. Priest instinctively hits Nakamura with the guitar, And we don't even get a finish on the pre-show match, as we get a disqualification of Priest after about 9 minutes of action.
I'm pretty sure I took a tally for Raw vs. SmackDown. I'm pretty sure I forgot to finish it too.
It's funny you point that out, because they didn't do it either. Throughout the whole show, do you remember anyone pointing out?
No, because they usually do. I remember they
And they did not.
They did not.
And basically Raw won pretty much anything if you go back and look. But
I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was one of those days where SmackDown won on the kickoff, and then they won by disqualification. So
I was going to bring it up later, but that was one of my things, is that brand supremacy, but we're never going to actually mention it or show you the score on this show. What did you think of this opener?
It was really boring.
It was boring.
And considering these are two talents that I
have like. No problem with either of them.
I've always liked Nakamura. I know you've always loved him as well. And I think Priest is pretty good too. I liked him in NXT. I enjoyed him more than you did, but I think we both at least...
He's not untalented, there's no doubt.
Right, and we both came around on him at least towards the end of his run even. And now he's just like an idiot too. And now he's getting serious with like a new... I think aggressive side,
but I think he's doing like almost dual personality thing.
His entrance definitely shows now, because it's like Damien is like it's like devil almost.
Yes,
right, and then Priest is Priest. Yeah, so it's like his Tron. It's like a silhouette of him, right? And like half the Priest, half is like heaven and hell. So I think that's just so stupid.
It's doing a duality of man gimmick, and they won't do it well. Yeah, I thought this was barely okay. The action was really slow and predictable. The crowd was dead. The guitar playing was stupid. The finish was disappointing and made Priest look kind of foolish. So I imagine the finish and the guitar stuff was part of the reason they moved this to the pre-show, because it's silly and you're not getting a finish. But
and because they had to make time for the Rock 25 Battle Royal, okay?
If the theory of the pre-show match is to get people interested to buy the pay-per-view that haven't already, how is this convincing anyone to do anything?
No, the point of the pre-show is just to fill time, because otherwise it would just be their stupid panel.
So these guys executed moves, I can say that, but there was really no energy or drama to this. There's no story, there's no stakes, so it's pretty hard even for talented guys to have a great match, especially when it's sports entertainment, which is that whole guitar crap for me. And yeah, that I didn't like it.
Long I feel like for it to be sports entertainment, it should be entertainment.
Yeah, really? I would hope, but no. So the main show starts, and the intro package we get is just an ad for a Rock movie disguised as a comparison with Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So I stopped paying attention right away. Maybe Jack has some thoughts on it. Because I was mad already.
They tried to keep comparing it. It just didn't work. I will watch the movie eventually, though, because it has Ryan Reynolds in it. It's Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson.
So basically, the in-ring action on this show, I think, can be summed up as okay at best. And when you combine it with all of the segments and the ads and the promotional crap, like, this was tough to get through.
Yeah,
this
Vince
was
McMahon had a golden egg.
Yet I see reviews for this getting like B pluses and 8s out of 10s and stuff. Like, I don't understand what people, I guess opinions can differ. So we get a video package then summarizing the story between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. They did include the belt exchange segment that was somewhat controversial and allegedly led to a legit confrontation between the two backstage. So the opening match is Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair in a non-title.
They recently switched belts, so that adds even less stakes to this.
So no stakes to this, even though it's two champions. They start brawling right away. We get a chop block by Flair. She goes for the natural selection really quickly, but Lynch counters with a disarmer attempt. We get a stiff back kick to Flair's face. Action goes outside. Flair's run into the post, then the barricade. Manhandle slam is countered into a backbreaker and a kick to the back by Flair. They exchange knees on the apron and Flair runs Becky into the ring post. Flair goes up for the moonsault, but Lynch shoves her off to the floor. We get a back suplex by Flair to Lynch on the barricade, and both just beat the referee's count after that. Slap exchange that looks pretty real, to be honest, until Charlotte drops Becky with a clothesline. Flair stays in control until Becky hits a springboard kick to the back, a springboard back kick. Flair counters an armbar into a power bomb. The classic, you just pick her up off the mat spot. Lynch then has an aggressive barrage in the corner, but Flair reverses an exploder and sends Lynch into the turnbuckles. Flair takes forever to hit Andrade's, is it the one where he misses the top rope moonsault and then hits the next one, right?
Yeah,
but it took forever to set up. We get strikes and kicks by Lynch, followed by a leg drop off the second rope to Charlotte hanging through the ropes. We get a missed boot and a back elbow that looked like sort of kind of trying to do what Andrade does, but not nearly as well, by Charlotte Flair. Big boot by Flair for 2. Reverse DDT by Lynch for 2. Becky mostly misses a top rope leg drop, then hits the manhandle slam too close to the rope. Charlotte gets her, I can't remember if it's her foot or hand on the ropes to break the count. Becky applies a figure 4. They're slapping each other as they're sort of engaged in that hold. Flair reverses the pressure by rolling over, but Lynch gets to the ropes. Lynch takes a boot on the apron, falls to the floor. We get a moonsault by Flair to the floor that barely touches Becky Lynch, and it's pointed out by 2 members of commentary. They didn't get all of that one sort of thing. Disarmor by Flair as they're each trying to hit each other's finishing moves, right? You had Lynch with a figure 4 and Flair with a disarmor a bit later. Rope break by Lynch, though. Stiff chops by Flair. O'Connor roll by Flair. She tries to use the ropes for leverage, but the ref catches her. Lynch counters it into an O'Connor roll of her own, and she does use the ropes for leverage. The ref doesn't notice, and Lynch picks up...
Right, because she holds on last second.
Right. Lynch picks up the win in about 18 and a half minutes. What did you think of this one?
I don't know. I thought it was okay, but considering the reputations of both of these two, I thought I was expecting better.
And real life heat, apparently.
I guess that might play a role. I think it was pretty good though, and all things considered, on this night, it was probably the best one. That is not high praise, however.
No,
but
it's not.
It's a statement of fact. I guess it was okay, but they really don't benefit from like no stakes or interest, and the finish was just okay.
Yeah, I thought this was a really good match. Actually, easily my match of the night on this show. The action was back and forth. Some of the strikes and chops looked pretty stiff, I thought. Not everything was executed perfectly. There were a couple minor issues, but easily forgivable with such a good match overall. The finish wasn't great. I don't really mind it that much. I imagine the plan, right, is they're trying to keep everybody looking strong, especially in champion versus champion matches when there's no stakes and nothing's changing hands. So we got to kind of keep status quo. We're in like a holding pattern, basically. So this was their idea to accomplish it here. Excellent tension and aggression made this a really good match. I thought a strong opener for the show. No coincidence, I don't think, that this is actually the one that had some effort and a story leading up to it. So it was a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I think they benefited from just they've already had many matches and stuff.
We get highlights of The Rock making his his debut 25 years ago as Rocky Maivia at Survivor Series at Madison Square Garden.
Where is Rock, you ask?
He's all over the show,
Not
so I
here.
imagine he's making a surprise appearance later, right?
No, he's just going to give Vince McMahon an egg for the movie.
A Drew McIntyre video package aired highlighting his time with WWE, including some of his bad gimmicks and his release from the company. And then we get an ad for NXT War Games.
Woo!
Next match, after we fight through the commercials and promo packages, is Team Raw, which is Seth Rollins, Bobby Lashley, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, and Austin Theory, taking on Team SmackDown, comprised of Drew McIntyre, King Woods, Jeff Hardy, Happy Corbin, and Sheamus in a classic Survivor Series elimination match.
I had, decent expectations for this just because I think the Raw team is filled with good talent, and then I guess there's a couple of decent ones on SmackDown.
And I told you it was my first time seeing Happy Corbin and Mad Cat Moss, right? Wasn't impressed by either one, really, because I don't really watch the shows anymore, so I hadn't seen them since their gimmick changes. So Kevin Owens starts out for his team. He's all fired up, and then he just drops and rolls out of the ring and heads up the ramp, and he's counted out after 55 seconds, which I actually thought was kind of funny. I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird, and it sucks because Seth Rollins did the same thing last year. Remember, he just sacrificed himself, and then that was them writing him off until the Royal Rumble. So I don't know. I'm kind of like sick of them doing that now 2 years in a row. But I guess this one was better. Yeah,
Woods takes control of Theory, tags in Drew McIntyre, who continues to dominate Theory before tagging in Sheamus to continue the onslaught here. Theory finally tags in Rollins. Corbin gets control, and SmackDown now takes turns beating on Seth Rollins for a bit here. Balor attacks Sheamus' arm. Sheamus levels Finn with a forearm, and SmackDown now are sort of in control of Balor for a while. Balor finally fights back, but a brief distraction by Moss allows Corbin to hit the Deep Six Slam. Eventually, Balor ends up hitting the coup de grace and eliminating Corbin just before the 8-minute mark. So Lashley then enters, dominates Jeff Hardy, who was by far got the biggest pop of anyone in this, right? Which is a sad, sad statement.
Yep.
Like, this is, again, nothing against Jeff Hardy, but you're not...
Maybe a little bit.
You're not building baby faces. If this guy who's 1,000 years old and has been here for 50 years is still the only baby face they're cheering, right? So anyways, they tag in Balor, Lashley, and Theory let him hit the Whisper in the Wind, right? Which was not a swanton, as commentary called it.
Yeah, people are just waiting for him to hit it.
And I say let them because it happened right in their corner, and they did nothing about it, right?
Right.
It couldn't have been in a neutral corner. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Lashley hoists McIntyre onto his shoulders at ringside, runs Drew into the ring post. Woods, that actually looked kind of cool. Woods hits some fast-paced offense to Theory. He goes up top, but Lashley knocks him off and spears Woods before applying the full Nelson, and Woods is eliminated at 13:25, so Raw is up 4-3 if you're keeping score.
I am not.
Stare down between Drew and Lashley. Drew tags in. Lashley backs up to his corner, but there's no one there for him to tag. Leapfrog and a flatliner by Lashley. Lashley's clotheslined over the ropes to the floor, where he then clotheslines Drew over the barricade.
I forgot to know that Lashley's tights are actually red instead of black with like.
Yeah, they all dressed for.
So I thought I know it's weird they have to wear their brand's colors, but I like Lashley doing
way
it
better
because
than wearing T-shirts.
That's true.
Way better.
I like 2019 because they wore them. Remember they had armbands. That
Yes.
was also cool. But I like that 'cause Lashley, he doesn't wear a lot of colors, so I thought that was a
Yep.
nice change of pace. And Rollins looked pretty good too.
So Drew and Lashley are basically out on the floor. They both get counted out at 16:25. So now it's 3-2 for Raw. Drew hits the Claymore to Lashley anyways, and officials and MVP have to sort of hold Lashley back from attacking. Rollins taunts McIntyre. Drew hits him with a headbutt before leaving. Balor tags in, goes up for the coup de grace on Sheamus, who rolls out of the way. Sheamus gets up, hits Balor with a brogue kick, pins him to eliminate Balor at 19:30. This is still going. We're tied 2-2 now. Sheamus and Hardy team up for Poetry in Motion. We get tandem clubbing blows, the signature ones Sheamus does in the rope, and Hardy's joining him as they hit Rollins and Theory with them. We get a... Sorry, my notes just totally flipped down really far, and I lost my spot.
You can do it.
Anyways, Sheamus heads to the corner. No one to tag. Theory rolls Sheamus up and eliminates him at 24:35. Sheamus drops Theory and Hardy before leaving. Rollins hits a frog splash to Hardy for a 2 count. Rollins and Theory set up Hardy for a double superplex, but Hardy fights them both off, hits the Swanton bomb to Theory, pins him at 27 minutes. Yes, it's going this long. Hardy and Rollins are the final 2 competitors. Rollins yells at Hardy. Hardy hits a side Russian leg sweep for 2. Forearm to the back of Hardy's head for 2. Twist of fate by Hardy. He goes up top, but Rollins gets his knees up, hits the curb stomp to eliminate Hardy, as Rollins is the sole survivor yet again.
Stomp, okay? You can't say curb stomp anymore.
Oh, is that right? Is that not allowed?
I don't know. Since he brought it back, they only said the stomp.
So this was whatever, half an hour-ish. What did you think of this match?
I don't know. It was okay, I guess. It went way too long though without much happening. I don't know. I guess good that Jeff Hardy didn't win.
Yeah, and I guess they recognized he was the most over, so they kept him till the end, sort of thing.
And I guess Rollins is sole survivor, so that's cool because he's good,
second year in a row, I think.
Guess. No, he got eliminated first last time.
Oh, whatever. I don't know.
The entire team Raw survived last time.
This match was far too long for the lack of action it contained. Like, you're giving me a half-hour match. SmackDown dominated with basic offense for the first several minutes. Pretty boring, I thought. Every Raw guy basically tagged in and did nothing other than sell to standard offense for, I was timing it, 7 minutes to start this match. After that, there was some interesting action, but I would call it intermittent at best, and very little happening. Bunch of guys fighting for no real stakes or no real reason. Almost all of these guys have switched brands recently, and it really felt like it. The second half, if I'm being nice, was better than the first, but this was not a good match overall, and I've seen a lot of people really like this match. And at half an hour, far too long. This show,
and I do have the doc open if you need me to add anything.
This show basically went over a cliff after the opener, I thought. So
I just realized the year ends pretty soon.
Sorry, what?
Year ends pretty soon.
It does.
And I have the doc open if you need me to add anything.
I figured that's what you meant. So this match was hard to care about even a little bit. So then we get some more commercials. The broadcast team recapped the arrival of Vince McMahon with his golden egg from the kickoff show. And then we get another 25 years of Rock video preparing for his making an appearance tonight, I would assume. So I don't know what's going on here. There's so many ads and so much product placement, and we're 2 matches in on this show. I'm glad that WWE can add to their record profits by doing annoying stuff like this cross-promotion and ads, and as they lay off dozens of people every month for budgetary reasons. So keep making that money in your record profits and keep firing people left, right, and center.
Yes.
Backstage, a security guard stands in front of Vince McMahon's dressing room. Roman Reigns shows up, stares the security guard down until he moves aside. Reigns knocks on the door and enters, shakes hands with Vince, who has the golden egg in a case on his desk.
It's from the movie that they're sponsored by. That's all you need to know about it.
Yep. Vince spoke of Rock starting 25 years ago. Vince said the egg is not a stage prop, but it's the real thing, obviously. And it's worth $100 million, obviously. So stupid. Oh my God.
I guarantee it's Vince's thing too, because like he's literally in it, right?
And then Reigns says almost as much as my next contract, which I thought was kind of funny. And then he just leaves the room. So what the hell? Why did this segment exist? Explain this to me.
I hardly even remember that it existed.
Roman just sits there and he goes, "This is my $100 million egg," and Roman goes, "Like my next contract," and leaves, and that's it.
So, he's related to Rock.
So I don't.
Boom.
This is ridiculous. I don't know what the hell Vince is talking about. I don't care about this egg or this movie you're promoting. How did anyone think this is interesting to anybody? I'm sure it's very realistic for Vince to just walk around with $100 million egg and just have it sitting on his desk, right? That's what you would do with a $100 million item. I know that's what I do.
That's what I do all the time.
Complete waste of time. I don't know who this is for. I'm getting angry, as you can tell, still a week out. So then we get a 25-man dual brand battle royal.
To honor Rock 25.
So my notes on this are not extensive, thankfully, for all of you. The Street Profits obnoxiously shill for pizza, right, as they make their entrance.
Pizza Hut.
And that comes back through this match.
It's probably the most prominent thing of this match.
Yeah, so Styles sort of leaves without being eliminated and is just watching from the announce table for a little bit. R-Truth then leaves, goes to ringside and gets a piece of pizza. He brings it into the ring, tries to impress Omos with it and Otis. Otis actually does take it and eat it. Truth pats him on the back, and then for some reason that enrages Otis, so Otis eliminates him. Omos and Otis then square off, and Omos dominates Otis, eliminates him. Ricochet eliminates T-Bar. Mansoor eliminates Alexander. Few eliminations later, Omos and Shanky meet in the middle of the ring. Big guys, right? And
Shanky.
Omos just quickly tosses Shanky over the top rope to eliminate him. Cole said it was Omos' fourth elimination of the match already. Rude and Ziggler eliminated Mansoor. Then Omos eliminates Rude, and Ziggler starts jawing at Omos. Styles enters then with a phenomenal forearm that eliminates Ziggler. Profits eliminate Zayn. Omos eliminates Aziz. Cruz gets upset that his man's out of the match, and then Styles is yelling at Aziz, who tries to pull him over the top rope, but Omos grabs the feet of Styles, right? And they're sort of struggling to get him back in the ring.
That was so stupid.
Omos gets hit from behind by Cruz, causing him to lose his grip, which leads to Styles falling ringside to be eliminated. So I'm pretty sure they counted that in Omos' elimination count. Him eliminating AJ Styles, right?
Of course.
So Omos then eliminates Cruz, which Cole noted there was his 8th elimination at this point. So the match finally comes down to Omos, Cesaro, Ricochet, Ford, and Dawkins. Omos was ganged up on by the other entrants, but of course he fights them all off because he's really big. He eliminates Cesaro and Dawkins. Ford hits a backhand on Omos, who then tosses him over the ropes to eliminate him. Ricochet removes his t-shirt, drops kick Omos, but Omos doesn't even leave his feet. So Omos, I can't say his name. I say it 50 different ways each show. Whatever. I don't care. Quickly disposed of Ricochet for his 12th elimination, allegedly. And to win the match in under 11 minutes, AJ goes to get more pizza, but Montez Ford takes him out, takes the pizza, and starts throwing it to people in the crowd. Gross.
That is what's important. Screw Rock 25. In with the Pizza Hut.
Thoughts on this match?
It was about Royal. That meant nothing and was about nothing other than Pizza Hut. And also, I don't care.
It was made to make Omos look strong. That's it, right? He's now eliminated everybody, basically. He's a monster. I picked him to win, by the way. Cha-ching. You should open that document as well to see how well I'm doing. I guess on the plus side, they kept it short, right? 11 minutes for a 25-man battle royal. And this was really boring. Just a multi-man match where, and I have it in bold, nothing interesting happened. I would argue that not one memorable thing happened during this match. For me, battle royals always run the risk of not being good because the ring's just too full of people for the vast majority. WWE didn't even seem to try to make this one interesting. At least I picked the correct winner. It's the only silver lining for me. Overall, they bookended a bad match with lame advertising for pizza, right? That's pretty much what we got here. We get more advertising, another Rock video, because we're getting ready for his appearance here on this show, obviously. Then Smith, McAfee, and Saxon sort of recap the kickoff show match that was oh so exciting. We then move into a Raw Tag Team Champions Randy Orton and Matt Riddle taking on the Raw SmackDown Tag Team Champions of the Usos in a non-title match, so nothing that matters again.
Mm-hmm.
So Orton and Riddle are in control early on. The Usos eventually take over and isolate Riddle. Riddle eventually hits his modified GTS, makes a hot tag.
Bro to sleep.
Orton hits power slams to both Usos, then goes for his draping DDT on Jay, who Orton pulls to ringside. Orton slams Jay into the broadcast table, tosses him back in the ring. Jimmy then charges at Orton, but Orton drops him on the table before returning to the ring. Orton hits his draping DDT to Jay. Riddle tags in, works over both Usos with kicks, a ripcord knee, and a leaping forearm, exploders and sentons, which was actually a really cool sequence by Riddle here. Jay stops him with a pop-up neckbreaker for a 2 count. The Usos then isolate Riddle, including a pop-up tandem Samoan drop.
Are you gonna say the Usos isolate him?
Yeah, probably. I'm trying to get through this because reliving this show is not fun. Orton later runs into a double super kick. The Usos follow up with a double super kick to a kneeling Riddle for a near fall. Orton eventually makes a blind tag. Jimmy doesn't notice. Jimmy super kicks Orton and then Riddle. Jimmy goes up top for a splash on Riddle, but Orton steps in and hits him with the RKO as he's coming off the ropes and pins him in just under 15 minutes. Your thoughts?
Don't ask me why I'm questioning this, but I feel like it was Jay in the finish.
Whatever. Who cares? What are your thoughts on it? Let's move on. I'm trying to get through this crap show, so let's go.
This is boring.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really care. This is the wrong result. And RK out of nowhere. What a surprise.
Bored for the first half of this match. Second half was better, but still basically just an ordinary tag match. Riddle, for me, was the high point with one nice sequence in the middle. And I thought the finishing RKO was a pretty cool visual. And this is where I'm starting to notice the contrast between WWE and AEW pay-per-views, and it is a stark difference. Starting with builds and storylines, to the crowd engagement, to the announcers being obnoxious or helpful, to the work in ring being like exciting and cool to like basic. There is no comparison. This is sports entertainment and not wrestling. This is not what I watch wrestling for. I don't blame the talent for the most part. I blame pretty much anybody else involved, but not the actual wrestlers themselves. Sorry, superstars, because they're not wrestlers. They're not. Right?
Sports entertainers?
Yes.
Independent contractors?
So we get another Rock 25 Years video, getting ready for his appearance on this show, I assume. And some more advertising, and this is painful, is in my notes. Like, painful to get through. Backstage, Sonya Deville is on the phone, sitting next to Adam Pearce. She hangs up the phone, and Vince McMahon enters the room. Vince notices that someone has stolen the $100 million egg that he decided to just leave on his desk unattended.
He didn't even lock his door?
He tells Deville to call the police. Adam Pearce tells McMahon it was possible that it was one of the superstars who stole it, and Vince says he'll figure it out on Raw tomorrow.
That's gonna make me want to watch Raw. And he said he'll have everyone there, so that's A, ratings draw, quote unquote,
wait,
and B, an excuse to have everyone
this
on there.
Don't you know Survivor Series is the one time a year where the brands interact? So are you telling me they're interacting tomorrow on Raw? It's twice in a year? Unbelievable.
Maybe.
So none of this matters. Sports entertainment, it's insultingly stupid. They're dragging this nonsense out onto Raw now, which I didn't watch and wouldn't watch, so it's fine. This is not a product for adults, in my opinion. WWE clearly, again, has a low opinion of who watches their stuff. Sounds like all the SmackDown stars will be on Raw tomorrow. How brand exclusive is all of this, right? Then they just get lazy and replay the Xia Li comic book vignette from SmackDown. It is kind of cool visually, but again, just a complete repeat. And I thought this was interesting too, right? Maybe I'm thinking too much. So she dedicated, remember, it's basically like something happened. Her father died, I think, or whatever. So she dedicated her life to her family. Mm-hmm. Then moved to the U.S. to become a professional wrestler.
I don't know. This is on SmackDown
As you do when you dedicate your life to protecting your family.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go for women's elimination match. Team Raw, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Carmella, and Queen Zelina taking on Team SmackDown, Sasha Banks, Shotzi, Shayna Baszler, Natalya, and Toni Storm in a Survivor Series elimination classic match. Carmella goes to ringside, has her assistants put her mask on right away. Then
but
she
then,
has
like, she just doesn't bother with it, right? Like, she doesn't even put it on, and then when she's in the ring, she gets Zelina to put it on.
yes.
But then she doesn't get put on 'cause Rhea Ripley or something, and then she
Rhea
gets
Ripley
rolled
rips
up.
it off, and then
It was stupid.
Carmella's distracted by the mask being ripped off and gets rolled up and pinned by Toni Storm 1 minute in. We get a series of rapid fire spots, involving most of the competitors. Baszler puts Ripley in a Kirifuda clutch, but Ripley falls back to break the hold. Belair and Banks then have a showdown moment the crowd seems actually interested in. Belair goes for a handspring move, but knocks Natalya off the apron. Banks hits a tornado DDT and makes the cover, but Ripley breaks up the pinfall. Belair takes control, goes for her KOD finisher, but Banks grabs her braid to avoid it. Later, Belair presses Zelina overhead, tosses her at Banks, which leads to a 2 count. Toni Storm tags in, and Queen Zelina is eliminated by Storm at about 14 minutes, so it's 4-4 now. Liv Morgan then hits Toni Storm with the Oblivion and pins Storm to eliminate her at the 15-minute mark, so it's Raw 3, SmackDown 4
Is it
left.
bad that I forgot what the Oblivion is?
It's that move that I don't remember what it is either, but it's fine. Shotzi tags in and heads up top. Sasha blind tags Shotzi. Shotzi hits an awful splash. Remember this?
Oh,
It was
yeah.
one after the other, and hers was like falling awkwardly.
Badness.
And then Banks hits a better one, and Sasha pins Liv Morgan, eliminates her at 16:10. It's now Raw 2, SmackDown 4. Ripley picks up Banks in a delayed vertical, walks around the ring before putting her down for a 2 count. Ripley follows up with a missile dropkick, and Baszler tags in. Banks hits a backstabber to Ripley. Shotzi hits a neck breaker with help from Baszler, who then covers Ripley and pins her. So Ripley's gone at 17:40. So Raw has 1 person left, and SmackDown still has 4. So it's Bianca Belair, the final member of Raw, and I called it as soon as it got down to this, right? I'm like, this is where Belair just fights and eliminates all of them. So Shotzi and Banks are arguing. Banks shoves Shotzi into Baszler, who was not pleased about that. Natalya pulls Banks off the apron. Banks is prevented from returning to the ring by her own teammates somehow. So she's eliminated by countout by her own teammates
Even
at
though
about 20
she was
minutes.
halfway in the ring.
Right, which breaks the count in every other match ever.
Every time someone wants to break the count, they like roll into like half or like 3/4 of the way in the ring. And she was like mostly in the ring. So this was dumb.
Of course it was. So it's now Raw 1, SmackDown 3. Natalya puts Belair in a sharpshooter, but she breaks free, hooks Natalya to pin her and eliminate her at 21:15. So it's 2-1 SmackDown now. Baszler puts Belair in the Kirifuda clutch, but she quickly escapes, hits a glam slam, and pins Baszler. So Baszler is eliminated at 21:45, and now it's 1-on-1. And it comes down to Belair and Shotzi. Shotzi hits a crossbody from the ropes, but Belair rolls through. Shotzi slams Belair's head on the mat, but Belair eventually does hit her KOD, scores the clean pin on Shotzi, and Team Raw's Bianca Belair was the sole survivor to win this match.
That's a pretty good choice, I guess, if you're going to do sole survivor.
Just under 24 minutes. What did you think of this one?
I don't know. I thought it wasn't great because
it wasn't.
Although I will be thankful they got rid of Carmella almost immediately. Like Zelina wasn't in for too long.
Right.
Shotzi actually did some crappy stuff, so that sucks. But I mean, it was okay. I guess it would be better than the men's one just because I guess it didn't go as long.
I thought so, but most people didn't. In looking at other reviews,
because I don't think it went as long, and there just wasn't as much. Like I guess yes, some of these people suck, but I feel like there wasn't as many lulls at least.
That's what I thought. I thought there was at least some fast-paced sequences in this one that I didn't think were in the men's one.
Yeah, Baszler didn't win, but I don't think she looked stupid either. So
at least they used this to make
that.
Belair look strong,
yeah,
which I'm
I'll
fine
take
with.
that, right?
Yep.
I'll settle for that.
So I like I said, I enjoyed this a bit more than the men's elimination match. It's a very low bar, and I'm not saying this was a good match either, because it wasn't. But there were at least a few fast-paced sequences, and there seemed to be some interest in some of the competitors facing off. Like Belair and Sasha seemed to get a bit of a reaction.
Because they did have a good match in the past.
They did.
Right? So.
And there were still some boring stretches here, and there were some sloppy spots as well. But at least there was some decent action along the way. And sort of once they cleared the dead weight out of the way and let some of the better stars go at it, it was a little bit more entertaining. And at least, like we're saying, Belair was made to look like a beast. But again, this wasn't a good match. Nothing really was after the opener, in my opinion. But maybe the main event will save it. It is the WWE Champion Big E taking on Universal Champion Roman Reigns for no reason, for no stakes, with no story really behind it, or a very little story. So these two circle each
Oh
other.
wait, I just remembered a time that Raw and SmackDown crossed because these guys had a triple threat with Bobby Lashley on Raw.
Right.
Roman Reigns is from SmackDown, so boom, this is not the only night that Raw and SmackDown collide.
That's what I was being sarcastic, because they collide all the time.
I couldn't think of anything this year other than maybe Raw this week, but there was an actual example.
Right. They circle each other to start. They lock up in the middle of the ring. Big E gets the better of that struggle initially, so Reigns kind of heads to the outside to regroup. Gets back in the ring, levels Big E with a Superman punch, one of what felt like 900 Superman punches. Big E leapfrogs Reigns a bit later, levels him with a back elbow. Big E punts Reigns in the ribs, pulls him to the apron for a volley of forearms to the chest. Big E then goes for a running splash on the apron, but Reigns rolls out of the way. Big E then ends up taking the drive-by from Reigns after missing that splash on the apron. Reigns rolls Big E back into the ring, locks in a seated rear chin lock for some excitement for the fans.
Yeah.
Big E fights back to his feet, connects with more forearm shots, but Reigns regains control with a big boot. Reigns tosses Big E to the outside, slams his head into the ring post. Reigns slams Big E's head into the ring post again, but Big E buys himself some time by whipping Reigns into the steps now. So Big E recovers a little bit, and they head back into the ring. Big E hits 3 consecutive belly-to-belly suplexes. He then hits the ropes, delivers a running splash, charges at Reigns, but Reigns catches Big E with a Samoan drop for a 2 count.
He is Samoan.
Reigns then charges at Big E, and Big E catches him with the Uranagi as they're kind of going back and forth here. Big E locks in a stretch muffler, but Reigns pulls himself up, floats over to escape. Reigns goes for a Superman punch. Big E avoids it. Reigns catches Big E with a rock bottom for a 2 count, because we know at this point Rock will be making an appearance with all of these highlight videos.
They're saving him for after the main event. He's going to set up the WrestleMania match with Roman.
He's going to come in and he's going to interact with Reigns, and we'll set up WrestleMania, obviously. So there's a little homage to Rock there with a rock bottom. And then Reigns hits another Superman punch, but Big E only drops to one knee because he's big, tough champion. Another Superman punch, but Big E again fights back to his feet. Third Superman punch. That's, I think, 4 or 5 total in the show now, or on this match.
You can never have too many Superman punches. That's the one thing I've learned about WWE.
He sets up for a spear, but Big E gets to his feet and stares down Roman Reigns. He is defiant, I imagine they said. Big E spears Reigns off the apron. He does that spot that's always dangerous. Rolls him back into the ring, but Reigns hits the ropes and catches Big E with the spear. Reigns makes the cover, but Big E kicks out at 2. Reigns goes for a guillotine, but Big E lifts Reigns, drives him into the corner. Big E again tries to spear Rhodes off the apron, but Reigns catches him in a guillotine between the ropes. Reigns heads back into the ring, locks in the guillotine in the middle of the ring, but Big E powers out, counters into a big ending. Big E makes the cover, but Reigns grabs the bottom rope to prevent the 3 count. Reigns rolls back outside again. Big E slams his head into the top turnbuckle, whips Reigns into the barricade and tries to whip him into the ring steps, but Reigns reverses and instead whips Big E into the steps. Reigns connects with another Superman punch, and off of the steps this time, and rolls Big E back into the ring.
Off of the steps? That changes everything.
Right? That's the super finisher. Big E goes for another big ending, but Reigns blocks it, hits the spear for the 3 count. I didn't get how much time this was, but I would argue...
Wait, let me get this straight. He won with a spear and not a Superman punch?
Well, he hit 17 Superman punches along the way, so it weakened him for the spear. That's how it works.
Yes.
Thoughts on this match?
I don't know. It was okay. A clash between 2 big, beefy boys. And I don't know, it just wasn't like that. It wasn't interesting. It was a very main roster match.
It was. Very Roman Reigns plotting.
Yeah.
It's getting old for me.
It is. I didn't like it. It wasn't great, and I don't care.
I think Reigns is the perfect, he works WWE style that they love. He is capable of working faster and better, but this is all they want him to do, right? Take your time, hit some big moves, walk around, sell, tell a story. It's sports entertainment. Don't worry about fast-paced action and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Don't worry about entertaining people.
So I think this was fine, maybe good, but that's it. Probably the second best match on the show. But again, there's nothing on this show that was good other than the opener. No stakes for this match, really. It was clear who would win the entire time. The Reigns style, like I'm saying, is starting to wear thin on me, as is this character, because it was the best thing on WWE main roster forever. But now it's just there's no star on the horizon that's a realistic challenger. His matches all feel
running too long.
His matches all feel the same to me. It's just a ton of Superman punches, him walking around, talking a lot, right? Just taking his time between moves. It all feels very, very similar all the time. And I guess, again, this is the main roster style of match, and by that standard, it was probably good, but I was only slightly entertained by this. Partly because of the action,
I don't even
partly
know if it was.
there was a pretty big, like, so what factor to this, right? But I guess the fact is Biggie was kept to look strong because he took 1,000 Superman punches to take him down or whatever. I don't know. This was them keeping him strong. And then my final note before we talk about the overall was, again, despite all the talk of battling for brand supremacy, I don't remember a single time on this show where they talked about the score between
Which
Raw and
they usually
SmackDown,
do.
or made any reference to it on the actual show, right? Not even on the show where they like, oh, this is all about brand supremacy. That was part of like leading up to the show, but not at all here. But anyways, overall thoughts and a letter grade.
Boring is my first thought.
Fair.
It was super boring. It didn't matter. It wasn't interesting. It didn't entertain me for a second, I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just like, even the good matches or the better matches still sucked. The kickoff was nothing, and no one really looks good coming out of this. You can only ever really like stand to lose something from this. You can't really benefit from anything from this. Like
right.
Even Belair looking somewhat good in the
like, so what?
Right.
Yep.
It just nothing matters. I struggle to give anything good from this, so I'm a D.
Yep. So I could barely tolerate this show, if I'm being honest. And again, the in-ring stuff was okay to whatever, but like everything else surrounding it was awful. Like,
I hate
awful,
the main roster
awful.
style. I just can't.
All of the segments drag this show from being like tolerable to basically I couldn't. Like, this just made me angry. It made me more angry than entertained me. You know what I mean? I would argue there was one good match on this show, and that it was the opener. Probably because it has an actual story and some real life tension too. After that, it was watching whatever WWE decided to throw at the wall at the last minute, right? To see if anything would stick. Nothing mattered. Nobody gained anything. Combine that with the insane amount of time dedicated to movie promotion, rock promotion, straight up commercials. You get a show that was barely watchable, in my opinion. This company clearly doesn't care about entertaining anyone. They have their TV contract money. They're making record profits. They have no motivation to actually try, and it really, really shows on this show, I think.
Can I put this in our worst pay-per-view section?
It's for sure at least a nominee, if not like the front runner.
That's what I mean.
This is supposed to be one of the big 4 pay-per-views, and it was absolutely a waste of time. Things like this honestly have me considering canceling the WWE network. Now that NXT I don't need anymore, right? And the pay-per-views like this are garbage. I can get them elsewhere if we really see one interesting. And putting that money into somewhere else in the wrestling economy, right? I could pick up New Japan. I could pick up something else.
Like, I think the second AEW gets one.
Right.
Like, why would we want this?
Right. So why am I still giving WWE monthly money when they offer me no value?
So my question to you is there any matches you would want to put on the worst of, and if so, which ones?
I don't think so offhand. I mean, I'd have to look into it later.
Right.
So I thought this was garbage, waste of time. I gave it a D as well. Like, I could have failed it probably, but did we forget to talk about Rock making an appearance at the end and cutting a promo?
I think we missed it. Yeah.
Oh wait, he was not involved at all, despite dedicating 1,000 segments to The Rock's 25-year career,
$100 million egg,
and stuff from his movie, and ads for his movie, and props from his movie, and people doing his moves. The Rock appeared nowhere on this show. It's embarrassing. They were clearly trying to lead people to think that was happening. So they do not care about you. They are actually trolling you and setting you up to want things and laughing that they're not giving it to you. That's how I feel at this point, right? Mm-hmm. This is just a garbage company right now.
Yep.
I have no interest. I have no respect for what they're doing. Again, no offense to the performers, the talent. It's not their fault. There's a ton of talented performers. We see it. Everybody that goes to AEW immediately looks better. Miro, right? Andrade.
Bobby Fish.
Aleister Black. Bobby Fish, of all different spots on the card, right? This just is not a company that cares or is trying, and I'm about done with them, frankly.
All right, you want to run through the
let's
picks
go.
quick? So Battle Royal, that's one for you.
Me, that's a big one. That should be like we're 4 or 5. But anyways, I'll take one.
So that's 1-0 you. Then we both picked the Usos. We both got that wrong, so it's still 1-0 you.
Oh, okay.
Nakamura versus Priest. We both picked Priest, so we were actually both wrong.
Yeah.
That's weird. Team Roberts, Team SmackDown Women's. You got that right, so that's 2-0 you. Team Raw, Team SmackDown Men's. That's 1 for me. So it's 2-1 you. We both picked Becky Lynch, so that's 3-2
I
you.
win. I got the main event, and so
yeah,
did you.
It's 4-3
Yes.
you.
But I got more wrong than usual. Usually, despite not watching main roster, I pick like everything right.
Yeah.
It's super predictable.
Well, it's because we both went opposites on the Survivor Series match, so we
Right.
both had to get one wrong.
Right. Well, that is going to end, I think, our Any Other Wrestling Business segment and bring us to our last segment where Jack's going to update us on the world of wrestling action figures, and that is Figuring It Out with Jack.
Yeah, and so we only have one thing, but I thought it was kind of interesting. There's this, it's a AEW ringside exclusive coffin drop Darby Allin.
What does that entail? I'm
so,
intrigued.
Based on, I'll show you the picture actually. Now do you get it?
Oh yeah, okay,
It's
like
from
literal
the Ethan
coffin
Page
drop.
match.
When he dropped on a coffin.
So, hold on. I'll go to ringside and then they do actually have a bit of a description. So originally, like, I assume it's at least like the figure from the match, so that's cool because I think the Darby Allin figures are nice. I still want to get his Unmatched Series 1 figure because that's got the body paint, which I think is always really cool.
You do like the body paint.
So it's going to have the Darby Allin figure, and it's got 2 heads, so that's pretty cool. Interchangeable heads for him. So it is a ringside exclusive, so I guess you get like a little more a soft goods body bag. So you get a body bag.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. I don't know if that's ever been done before, or at least not in a while, so that's kind of cool.
No, because WWE I don't think's putting out body
bags. A soft
bags.
PVC entrance jacket. I don't know if that means like the soft rubber like his other figures, but that would be cool. Coffin-shaped skateboard, as well as like the packaging is shaped like a coffin. So I was hoping it would come with an actual coffin, but I think that's still pretty cool. It's another Darby Allin. I'll definitely like have that on my wants because I think the Darby Allin figure is always pretty nice.
Yep.
Face paint, so I
like it. Do you like face paint?
Face paint's nice. And that is literally it.
Wow.
One random reveal.
Quick one this week.
There's, I guess, another thing, they have the Black Friday sale. If you want to look at stuff, there's some cool stuff.
Well, I guess that's going to wrap up episode 71 of FNS Wrestling Podcast. I will probably be back Monday or Tuesday to talk about, I think, the last Ring of Honor, I think, or second last, penultimate maybe. I
thought you were going to want to talk about Wrestlehouse.
Because the pay-per-views of it December 11th, and then they're done. But anyways.
Yeah, could they fit in?
There might be another
one more.
I don't know. But
they
anyways,
could, at least.
A big thanks to anyone that's taken any time out of their day or week to listen to us talk about wrestling. We really do appreciate it. We will definitely be back here next Saturday for episode 72. I'll probably have Impact back on the schedule then. We'll figure out what we're doing.
Another 2-hour Wrestlehouse special?
We'll figure out what we're doing to replace NXT 2.0. So you can...
We'll figure out something. And we were talking about the one day we at least have a lot of options.
Yep.
And if anyone wants to, like,
if you want to give us a suggestion,
something specifically, then
feel free.
Yeah.
FNSwrestling@gmail.com, FNS_wrestling_podcast on Instagram, or leave a comment in YouTube if you have any suggestions. We could talk about NXT UK, MLW, I don't know. So, retro NXT's been bandied about.
I was even suggesting maybe move Impact there now, and then I'll jump in on that. But we will figure something out. We will have something.
Yep. So look for that next Saturday. We will see you all back here then. And until that time, take care.